How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and I have gathered a council of nerds to join me today to talk about the DC Evergreen List. But before I go any further and even talk about what an Evergreen is, I would like to take this time to thank these folks for joining me and introduce themselves. So we'll go left to right, top to bottom. You guys introduce yourselves, please.
Guess that makes me first.
That's you, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'm BJ Kicks from Comics Are Dope on YouTube. And I fancy myself a DC fan. So today will be fun.
Excellent. Okay. What about you? There we go.
I am Crisis with a K. I am coming to you live from New Zealand and often from my website, crushingcrisis.com, which charts how to collect many, many different Marvel and, yes, also DC books. I'm so happy to be here with my esteemed panel of colleagues and also Lars. And I am not a DC fan, so this should be really interesting.
This is going to be great.
Ridiculous.
Judas.
Speaking of Lars, who are you? Heard you were a fan of Doctor Who.
I have been known to occasionally watch that weird Doctor Who show. Yes, my name is Lars Pearson. I am formerly of Wizard Magainze, currently of Mad Norwegian Press. Absolute pleasure to be here. The dirty secret is I probably overall consider myself more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan, where I was for a long time. And then I kind of drifted away from it. And then I was more Marvel. Now I'm kind of back to DC. So like any long-standing marriage, it's had a few ups and downs, but I really enjoy DC.
Okay. And there's some nice words about Ødfel. But before we talk about that young lady, let's talk about that young man over there. The adorable Omni Dog.
Excuse me. I am Omni Dog from Omni Dog's Vault, the home of collected editions. It's Omni Dog's Vault on YouTube and Omni Dogs _Vault on Instagram and Omni Dog's Discord, where we now have a cookies, ice cream, and pie channel. Beat that, Omar, you spud.
I didn't even know this was a contest, but I just texted my copyright lawyer. We're going to go ahead and buy the domain Omni Dogs Vault. For some reason, you haven't bought it yet. It's like $2.
I haven't. No, I don't even know the email address.
I will definitely sell it to you at a discounted price, of course. I'm glad you're here, buddy. And then right above me is this young lady. And who are you?
Hello, I'm Ødfel. I'm mostly a cosplayer, but I come on this channel occasionally to talk comics with y'all. I have a really good time. As the comments said below, I was here for the Marvel one, and it was a ton of fun, so I'm excited to dive into the DC version.
That's what's up. And then making his first appearance here on the channel is my buddy Chris. I've been on his show a couple of times. Well, yes. First appearance live. He has done a video for the channel before, and I think he's doing it again this year. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Chris Balga. I am the host of World's Finest True Believers and co-host of Marvel Alliance. They are two podcasts that you can find looking for any podcatcher choice, looking for the Geek Ultimate Alliance on any podcatcher. And you can catch all our shows live on the Geekverse YouTube channel. Geekverse Podcast YouTube channel.
Great radio voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, your voice. Amazing.
BJ wins, though. I got to defer BJ. BJ's got the smoothest voice.
He does. Both of you guys have great voices. And I'm Omar, Uncanny. So today we're going to be talking about the DC Evergreen List. And if you're not familiar with that term, it just means that these are books that are kept in print. So we did something similar with the Marvel list, where they had announced their Evergreen list, and then we made our own. We each have 3 choices, and then we kind of debate on which 10 make it on the final list. And then we have a secret, very similar to what we did with the Marvel list, is by adding Silver Surfer. We each choose a Silver Surfer trade, and we did something similar here with one particular series. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. And yeah, that's what we're doing. And DC does have a tendency to reprint things like Batman Year One and Dark Knight. And also, we didn't do any Vertigo because I think it would be more fun to do superheroes, limiting ourselves to superheroes. So there's no Vertigo titles in here like Swamp Thing or Watchmen, but they keep that stuff in print. And DC's Evergreen list mainly is Batman Year One and Dark Knight. A couple of other titles in there too, but we created our own list following those guidelines. So that's what we're here to talk about. Not Year Two though. No, you are correct. Not
No one wants that.
And that might make it on the list. Hey, if Squirrel Girl made it, anything's possible, Jess. Just saying.
I see Peter's already dragging me in the chat. What's going on here? How dare you?
Chip Zdarsky's giving you a run for your own money, Omar. He made his own overview video of his omnibus. It's really, yeah, Melanie told me about it. She actually commented and he replied back to her. He is a national treasure. Well, Canadian national treasure, but still a national treasure nonetheless. What about the Flash? The Flash might make it. The Flash might make it on somebody's list.
True.
No Harley unless the art is done by Joe Benitez.
Oh, sorry about
I don't know
that.
if anybody added Harley. Is
I was
Year
close.
3 listed in anything? Cape Crusader, I believe, has Year 3. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get this party started now that we've introduced ourselves and introduced what the concept of the Evergreen List is. So this is if DC were to ask us what 10 books would we like to see in Evergreen format. And I should have arranged you all by actually I think I do have BJ going first. Maybe. Let's see here. So let me go ahead and move things around here a little bit. So we're gonna go in this order. It's Lars, Peter's pick, then Ødfel up here, Omni Dog's pick, then BJ, then Chris, then me. Yeah, here we go. All right. So it is in this order. So Lars, you have the privilege of going first, my friend.
Yeah, you're making me go first like a toddler wandering out into the highway to get slaughtered.
It worked so well for you last time.
You're so sure of yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I am. No, it did work well last time. All right. Yeah, no, let's do this.
All right, here we
Ready
go.
Okay.
What were your choices? Oh, wait. I'm so sorry, John. I missed your super chat. You're right. See, this is what happens when Melanie's not here. I miss these things. So John's choices are What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which is a great story about Superman. The Killing Joke, which surprisingly is also not an evergreen. Justice League, The New Frontier, Return of Barry Allen, and Tower of Babel. Well, John, thank you so much for the super chat, but I would have to fire you because I would. It's only 3 choices. 3 choices, not 5. You can't try to sneak one in on me, John.
Well, only you, Omar, can sneak in those, right?
Oh, I will be. I will be. All right. Well, nobody has seen anybody else's list, by the way. So that's what makes this more fun.
Let me just open that. I think this was a lot more awkward for me, and I imagine for a lot of others as well, just because it was harder to ascertain what the current DC Evergreen list is. Mm-hmm. And yes. So, yeah, I know that Oddfellow had a challenge there as well. And you, so it was kind of screaming and leaping because I just kind of assumed that Batman The Long Halloween was not a contender, that All-Star Superman was not a contender. Whereas with Marvel, I was just able to go boom, 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 boom. But here we're kind of figuring out.
Yeah, DC is very, very weird about what they keep in print. And I don't mean weird. It's just like there's no announcements. There's no list, right? Like there's no current list.
And yeah. They would actually have to understand what the term evergreen means in order to put something in evergreen.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. And well, in fact, we were discussing before we opened here that Kingdom Come is not always in print, which is a bizarre thought. I mean that.
Yes, Kingdom Come is not in print. Not always.
You would think that should absolutely positively be something they're reprinting all the time.
Wait, are you ripping somebody off of their choice already?
I don't know. Am I?
You just outed Kingdom Come. Maybe somebody's going to be saying that.
Well, here's the thing. If Kingdom Come...
How are you guys fighting? Lars hasn't even chosen one book yet.
Chimney crickets. Had I known that Kingdom Come was not in print, I would have picked it. Of course I would have picked it, obviously.
Oh, okay. Well, it still might make the list, remember?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this, that you get your own 3 choices that are not as good as Kingdom Come, though. I'm just kidding. Lars, tell us why you chose these books. What are these books?
Yes, so these are the 3 I was able to pick when I was screaming and leaping as to what was permissible. Batman and Son, the first Grant Morrison Batman.
Okay, yeah.
Wonderful art by Andy Kubert. And a very striking, very new approach by Grant Morrison. It brings Damian Wayne into the fold. You know, and Grant is like, you know, he really knows his Batman history. I'm sorry, they really know their Batman history, and you know, they're able to just kind of, you know, twist it a bit to really make it very engaging. I think that's an excellent pick. 52 is a great.
Did you just say your choice is an excellent pick? Okay. Nice. I like that, Lars.
Omar,
I'm swinging strong.
I am free scripting all of this after an exhausting day, for pity's sake.
You go on.
Yes, 52 is, you know, one of the great collaborations between Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, and Mark Waid, and the late Keith Giffen, which really looks engagingly at 6 DC characters who would normally get a bit overlooked. In a year without Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, you know, we focus in on The Question, Booster Gold, Elongated Man, and other characters. So I think it's a really engaging look at the DC universe. That's something that you wouldn't normally see. And JSA The Golden Age for me was a game changer. It's got wonderful art by Paul Smith, and it looks at the Justice Society in a way that they've never been looked at before, because James Robinson in this story comes in, takes the Justice Society characters that have been around for decades, and really humanizes them. Really gives them some interesting flaws, and really makes them into individuals in a way that they've not been. This one's I'm a little biased on, in that weirdly my father served in World War II, and some of the humanizing process that this book does for the characters, I kind of witnessed in him. You know, the older I got, the more he became, you know, an actual person rather than just dude who put on Air Force uniform every Memorial Day. So we're looking for things that are accessible, engaging picks in their own right, hold together as a single unit. That's why I went with these.
Okay, great explanations. Great explanations. And then we're gonna come back, you know, and fight for our.
Yeah. Oh, I should add that I feel like also these all serve as portals, by the way, too. You know, once you get on reading Grant Morrison's Batman, you're probably going to want more. 52, there's a lot more of that, and JSA is it's a good introduction to pretty much every Justice Society comic ever written.
This is gonna be tough, Peter.
Well, first I want to say I'm being held here against my will. I tried to tell them that I wasn't going to come on the DC show, and they were having none of it.
Oh, you're coming on, buddy.
Yeah, you still got up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I still got up at 4:30, even though the show started at noon.
I mean, the filth that has poured out of your mouth pertaining to DC has been shocking.
However, looking at that first choice there, he has my attention and my vote. So
okay,
yeah, I almost put that one. It's a good choice.
All right. Well, here's my thing. I have no allegiance to DC. I've read thousands upon thousands of DC comic books. I just don't have sentiment around DC like I do with Marvel. It's just how it works for me. And the other thing is, I have no interest in the Trinity. I don't care about any of their books being evergreen for different reasons. Some of them I like less. Some of them I've read every comic they've already put out already, and I have some very specific opinions about that. So for me, I really looked at this as a chance of saying, who is a character, or what is a group of characters that people probably have an awareness of, that there should be one book that everybody should always buy when they start hearing about that character or that place, as the case might be. So my first one here is Green Arrow by Mike Grell. I know the cover we have here is Longbow Hunters, but that's only the introductory 3-issue series. I think we could probably pack another 10 or 12 issues into this book to make it evergreen. So it's a solid hunk of that first Mike Grell Green Arrow omnibus, which is the first 50 issues, I believe.
There was a trade paperback, a fatty of Mike Grell's run. I think there was a total of 9 of them, but the first one did include the Longbow Hunters in the first part of his run.
Well, then we're talking about that first fatty in terms of what I think should be evergreen. Because
is that the official thing? We're just calling them fatties now.
Yeah, we're calling them. I'm sure DC loves that branding, BJ.
Big blunts.
That's bigger than thickies, but we still love them. Oh, I do. Anyway,
I think.
Can you explain really quickly what the evergreen is to Jeremy, who just got here?
Yeah.
Anybody that just got here?
And correct me if I'm wrong, evergreens are books that are kind of the quintessential go-to, always in print books that regardless of what will come and go as far as new releases and new printings, will always be in stock and always be accessible. So we're essentially arguing which books we think should be always there and always in print and are of either accessibility level or iconic enough to deserve to be on that roster.
Thank you so much. Omar, what the? Hila, you're paying me to compliment Omni Dog? Is this one of your other fake accounts that you have?
No,
Yeah,
I
nice try,
can't even
Jess.
type. I can't even come back to Peter in the chat. I don't have that capability.
Yeah,
Thank you
nice
for thinking
try.
I can create a fake account.
His facial hair is on point today. That's my
Thank
compliment.
you.
His facial hair is on
Wow.
point today, buddy. All right, Peter.
Appreciate it.
Sorry about the interruption. I had to compliment Omni Dog.
Well, look,
So
I'm just
what?
glad to hear people are digging the Green Arrow choice. Look, to me, this run holds up, and Green Arrow has had a lot of great runs, but Mike Grell comics are timeless to me. I think so many of the themes of this run read even more intriguing now in 2023 than they did at the time in the late 80s and early 90s when this book was out. It does not feel antiquated to me at all. It still puts a smile on my face, and I think even though there are other Green Arrow runs I love, I actually really love Ben Percy's run. I know that is a somewhat contentious statement among some fans. To me, if anybody has heard of Green Arrow, this is a run you can hand to them and they can appreciate who he is as a comic book character. And this is a character people know because he was on TV for the better part of a decade. So let's make sure there's a book out there. My second one, I see that comment about Hawkman. We're getting there in a second. My second one is Gotham Academy. Let me tell you, this was a period that I was not actively reading DC. People were talking about this book. I sneered so hard. I almost sneered right around to the other side of my head. I was like, a Gotham book about kids and it's going to be about Batman? Really? Who the hell needs that? Well, guess what? I was wrong. I know how to admit when I'm wrong. This book is perfect for all ages of readers. It doesn't really have Batman in it at all, except for an issue or two, but it is a whole book that's about the dynamics of Gotham City as told through this exclusive private school. And I have news for you as a parent of a 10-year-old child and somebody who is in the library with her all the time. Kids really like books about school settings, especially if there's a mystery, especially if it's a little bit dark. Kids love darkness that they have been permitted to hang out with. And this book has some really dark turns for its characters. It is not a light, fluffy, funny book, more like even Strange Academy on the Marvel side. I would say it trends a little bit darker. It is incredibly satisfying. DC already has a collected volume out this year with the entire first year, issues 1 to 18 and annual 1. And I think that should be evergreen. I think it's cool to be able to hand kids a book that's in DC continuity, that has kids in it, and that honestly really could work at almost any time in the life of Batman and Gotham, because kids know what Gotham is. I go to my daughter's class right down the street here and say, who knows what Gotham is? Hands will go up. So we should have an evergreen book with Gotham in the title. My third one, possibly most controversial, is Venditti and Hitch's Hawkman from DC Rebirth. Here's the thing. I heard for years that Hawkman was confusing, that nobody was going to be able to explain it to me, that I wasn't going to like it. And so I'd been scared away from Hawkman and ever trying to care about Hawkman. I picked up this book and it was the top of my stack every damn week. It felt like an event book about the whole DC universe, just told with Hawkman, making him out to be the coolest hero at all of DC. Every issue looked great. Every issue was huge. Hitch is amazing at that. I was salivating to read more Hawkman, people, more so than any Marvel book that was out at the time. I think if you take the first hunk of this run, 12 issues or so, and put it out, anybody who's ever heard of Hawkman, seen him in a movie, seen him in a cartoon, can pick this up and not get dragged down by the continuity and think he is the coolest character alive in the DC universe. So to me, that is an evergreen, and there is no other book I would put on this list to have Hawkman on proud display.
Wow. Okay. You should have saved some of that for the debate, but that was a good start. That was a good start, Peter. I like that. Next up. All right, Ødfel, you're up.
Hello.
Sorry, Lars. Kingdom Come. But hey,
honestly, Arkham Asylum, I might have assumed was an evergreen as well.
Yeah, so when I gave Omar my list, I was like, hey, here's 5, because I feel like 2 of these have to be on Evergreen. And those 2 were Kingdom Come and Arkham Asylum. I assumed they already were, but they're not. So
Nope.
I've got a lot more popular picks than I felt like I was going to come in with, but I'm excited to defend them, but don't feel like I have to do much. It's Kingdom Come. It's a classic story. Almost everyone has at least read it or approached it. It's got Alex Ross art. It was one of the first comics I ever read, and as a new reader who didn't know much about the DC universe, I didn't feel that confused or out of it, because a lot of the characters are involved, are kind of in a pop culture zeitgeist already, so I don't know. It's hard to defend Kingdom Come. I think it's just a classic, and it deserves to be on there. Arkham Asylum, last time I put Demon Bear on my Marvel list. I love this sketchy horror style. It has the same feeling art, the same horror elements to it, except Grant Morrison really pops off. They have a really good handle on how dark and scary a lot of the inmates at Arkham are, and there's whole sections that are just log entries of the patients and stuff. It's a very untraditionally formatted comic. Very cool. Way darker than a lot of the stuff we get in Batman, and I think it's just a really cool read. And then lastly, I have Green Arrow. So this run is I forget the nickname for it, Quiver, I think.
Quiver
And
is the first story arc, and then I
yeah.
can't remember
So
what's the
I wanted
second
to
one
do.
with your. I was asking Jess, what's the second story arc called? It's got your favorite villain, Onomatopoeia. From Kevin Smith's Batman run. What was that?
I sold
I'm
that book,
trying
so I don't know.
I can't remember what it's called, but yes, the Kevin Smith era when
Yeah.
Ollie comes back.
Yeah, so I chose this one. I was debating between this and Longbow Hunters myself last night, but at the end of the day, I chose this because the Quiver to me is such a good team book. It has the family dynamics that almost like a Bat Family book does, with both sidekicks being present as well as the Dinah Green Arrow relationship happening. I'm a big Black Canary fan, and I feel like she really shines in the Kevin Smith era, having her own, but also still being part of his books. I really like this era. It's got dynamics that are familiar if you're a reader of Batman or something, with the sidekicks being present. And altogether, I feel like it's a really good jumping off point for new readers to engage with Green Arrow, get attached to other characters, and potentially hop to other books or stick with Green Arrow all along the series.
Okay. We will come back to you because I believe next up is, I want to say it's Omni Dog. Let me make sure here.
Whoop.
It's Omni Dog's picks. You snuck in a Legion of Superheroes, my friend. All right, but before that, tell me what the
Brave
rest
of you.
stuff-
Brave of
Oh,
you.
sweet lord.
5 Books of Blood stars Renee Montoya, and it's by Greg Rucka. She has to search and defeat a kind of the religion of crime. And this book of blood is sort of like the Darkhold in Marvel terms, where it's a crime Bible: deceit, lust, greed, murder. She and Batwoman have a thing going in this book, which is cool, except they fight over the book, and Renee gets influenced by the book, and Greg Rucka does a bunch of these writings from the Books of Blood, and he just makes Renee Montoya one of the most interesting characters. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I like her better than Vic Sage, even as the Question, because of this book. She kicks ass, chews bubblegum, all out of bubblegum.
Okay.
Superman up in the sky.
Yeah, Tom King, huh? Okay.
Peter. I feel so sorry for you.
What is
When you
Peter's being
can't-
so quiet and behaving himself?
I don't care.
Do you feel sorry for me because Tom King has no effect on my brain whatsoever? It just goes smooth whenever I read a panel.
There's an extra reason. Sure. That's number 2. This is what Tom King knows how to write. And this is proof that he knows Superman. I think he and Bendis switched at the time. Bendis wrote Batman. He took on Superman. A girl goes missing, and Batman requests that he find her. And she is 500,000 light years away. And the things that Superman has to go through are extremely humbling, extremely human. What he does to save one girl ends up saving the world. And there's a panel here that raised the hair on my arms, Peter. It was so touching because Batman totally getting his ass kicked.
Hold on. Hold it up again.
Whoop, whoop. Okay, there we go. This is at the end of the alien invasion where
It's Andy Kubert.
Diana says Clark is the reason the alien invasion stopped. Yes. How? We were in need, and he's Superman. The hair on my arms went up because that is what he means to the world. He brings them hope. He will never stop. He gets the girl. Sorry, spoiler alert. But what she means to him and what he goes through is incredibly heroic. And he even has to deal with dark side, illusions, goes back in time with Sergeant Rock as Clark Kent, races the Flash. This book has it all, and it's written in a very mature, incredibly touching way.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Superman,
now-
Legion of Heroes, Superman and the Legion of Superheroes. Oh, and by the way, both of those two books are great introductions to the character. Question 5,
Okay.
Books of Blood. It kind of introduces Renee Montoya as the Question, and Superman. So Superman and the Legion of Superheroes deals with a topic. It's by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, who likes to draw every tooth in a person's head.
Wow. Okay.
But
You're not wrong.
I can get over it because they need Superman in the future because there is a cult that has taken over Earth that is saying that Superman was not an alien, that he was Earthborn, and that they have turned him into a symbol of xenophobia. And Superman goes with them to the future. Time capsule comes, takes him back, blah, blah, blah. Timey-wimey. So he goes there, but it's under a red sun because the guy that is leading the cult has locked up Sun Boy to turn all the suns in his sphere red, so Superman doesn't have powers. So Superman's very vulnerable, and they're fighting xenophobia. It's extremely virulent. It's a tale that I think is timeless, since I highly doubt xenophobia is ever going to go away. So you can read this at any point, and you can figure out what exactly drives this xenophobia. It's typically what always drives xenophobia: insecurity, racial hatred, and fear of the other. And since Superman is a symbol of hope, he stars with all the other legionnaires that he frees to take down this cult and establish himself as Kryptonian. And it is a wonderful read if you can get over all the dental work that Gary Frank does.
Oh my God.
Some good picks. Maybe. BJ, what's up, buddy?
Peter, goddamn you.
That was very Midwestern of you. It didn't entirely suck.
I can't even type, and Peter's dragging me in the chat. Damn it.
And he doesn't even have to create another account. He's
I can't even reach my keyboard.
all right, BJ, you got some picks.
I do have some picks.
Talk to me, brother.
So my criteria were books that a kid would stumble on and want to read more DC afterwards. Right.
I like that. Okay.
So I've got Young Justice by Peter David, A League of Their Own, that first story arc. If we can get past, the Mighty Endowed, then we've got a great entry point for a 12-year-old. Right?
12-year-old boys are sophomoric. Me and Jess still crack up at that character.
The character is so dumb.
Her chest was so big that she would fall over. That's how she defeated herself. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, her power was that her chest was hypnotic.
Not arguing that.
If we can get past the Mighty Endowed, then I think it's a great series, especially since so much of the Greg Weisman Young Justice cartoon takes inspiration from this. And it's a great look at a lot of different power sets in the DC universe. So it's just, I think a team book is always going to be the way to go. In fact, all of my picks are team books. So
Yeah, I noticed that.
I didn't notice that until after I did it. But hey, here we go. So next up, I got JLA Tower of Babel. It was very tempting.
So
just
glad
put up-
somebody put that on here. So
Yeah,
glad
it was-
somebody put that on here.
Yeah, it was tempting to put a bunch of Batman on this list. And, you know, thankfully Lars did it for me, so I don't have to worry about it. But if I'm not going to choose a Batman story, but I still want Batman to like just look epic, then I'm picking Tower of Babel. You know, it's a great look at what makes Batman just the total god of the DC universe, even whilst showing that he makes mistakes. And again, another great look at a bunch of different power sets. This was my first exposure to Kyle Rayner and how he does his constructs and how they're like sketchy. And like, it was just very cool to see how Batman kind of his plans for taking down all the Justice League, and then also the ramifications of having that. And then the last pick is Super Sons. I love Super Sons so much so that I own every issue of Super Sons in singles. They're just in a short box sitting up in my closet because I'm never going to touch it because I have the omnibus, and I bought the omnibus twice. I did show some restraint. I did not buy the super duper edition, even though I do have Challenge of the Super Sons in singles. If you're going to choose, go ahead.
He's writing the Kid Sinestro and who's the other kid? It's like a 6-issue miniseries. You know they're going to make another omnibus.
Son.
Yeah, they're going to make another omnibus right around the corner. It's going to be the super duper ooper
Super
edition.
gargantuan duper whooper.
Hopefully they just do their own little hardcover for Sinister Sons. But the lead-in, they've been putting backups in Green Lantern of all books. It's been fun. It's been really fun. Although I don't know how far that's going to go since he just signed that exclusive with Ghost Machine. But now we're in a whole different territory. But Super Sons, Tomasi, Jorge Jimenez. Like, my problem with a lot of this was the stories aren't crazy modern, but Super Sons is modern enough. It's Elseworlds enough to where, you know, it kind of just always stands alone without the danger of being outdated, which is, I think, a risk I took with Young Justice.
You think that was risky, huh? Okay. I really like these picks, so this is going to be tough because I've only seen one so far that two people have agreed on. So this is going to be interesting how we're, you know, not going to choose any of Lars or Jess's picks and still limit ourselves to just.
No, I mean, that was a given going into it, wasn't it?
Lars, you just made it so easy. No, I'm just kidding.
2 hours of my time wasted again.
See,
Oh,
again,
come
I
on.
would
You
have
do that at the dentist. This is a lot more fun. Chris, tell us about your picks, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm glad to see Ødfel put on Kingdom Come as well. Kingdom Come is definitely one of my top DC books of all time. As already been said, you know, Alex Ross's art with Mark Waid's like just encyclopedic knowledge of the DC universe at that point. And it's kind of like the bookend on the opposite end compared to New Frontiers, like what happens at the end of, you know, our golden age, silver age, and modern age of heroes when, as the story kind of goes into, like all these newbies have powers and with no restraint and just going wild, while the, you know, the players of the past are now pushed to the side at that point. So many Easter eggs, so many different things, just simply 4 issues that delve into the idea of what it truly means to be a hero in the universe, and what the capabilities of any of these individuals having more than just one idea. And as you see in the background, my son is in the background. What's up, buddy?
What's up, John?
He's got a Legion of Superheroes book, or he's got a Marvel book.
He has a sticker book that he needs. What is it? No, not that one. This one. I am playing
We should have
single
to
dad
pitch
right
him
now.
all of our choices. That should be our test.
Yeah, we should let the kid pick out the choices. It's like, man, Superman, he's so outdated. I'm all about this Young Justice book, though.
The candy.
Yeah,
Just give him issue 2 on.
Okay.
I think Kingdom
Yeah,
Come
okay.
might make the list for a
I
book
did-
that
I
doesn't
did tell-
have.
I-
Go
I
ahead.
did tell him when mommy's with at my daughter at dance class, so I'm usually single dad right now. So I said, if you need me, come down. Well, he took that opportunity.
Smart kid.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Kingdom Come. Just I got the opportunity to meet Mark Waid a number of years ago at Heroes Con, and just couldn't stop raving about like just what he did with this. So my first pick is that, and then like I said, on the opposite end, going back to the kind of the birth of the Silver Age, DC's New Frontier. Anything with Darwin Cook, I'm a Darwin Cook fan. I've any kind of covers, anything like that. Just he had this ability to just. It's kind of like I kind of equate him to like Norman Rockwell, but him doing the art, the colors, the writing, him just doing the tip of the hat to the handover of the Golden Age to the Silver Age. Like this is a book that you really don't need to. You can have the passing interest of the Golden Age heroes and just be introduced to the beginnings of the Silver Age at that point and be completely fine. And it includes one of my favorite interactions between Batman and Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
When he goes into saying it took a $70,000 silver of meteorite to stop the one in Metropolis, and with you all I need is a penny book for a book of matches. I mean, just that captures how Batman just knows everything and does everything, but it's a story that you even see heroes like in the cover there, John Henry, going on in the background, the birth of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern, the space age of Adam Strange, and Barry Allen's Flash, all against this entity that is out there and taking out some of the trinity of heroes that they came used to in the Golden Age, and seeing all these heroes kind of rise above at that point. The art is simply phenomenal. It is what I consider to be Darwin Cook's magnum opus for the DC universe.
And last, what's that Batman book?
Yeah, Batman Under the Red Hood. I know it just came into a deluxe edition at that point, but looking at every single Batman book I've gotten collected edition, I was thinking like, what is the book that kind of resonates most with me, but also has kind of a powerful story with it? And it would be Under the Red Hood. One of Batman considers one of his greatest failures is, one of the deaths of his, proteges at that point. And, this is a story about coming to terms with that and understanding that the choices that he makes of either doing things or not doing things have consequences. And not everyone subscribes to the whole idea of Batman doesn't kill, even though we all on this panel can agree that Batman has killed many times. And the idea that he considers to just locking up these supervillains at that point and they'll keep on escaping. Well, the Red Hood does not agree with that and considers, why do we keep him on the board and just take him out permanently? And some of the last few issues of this, when he confronts and understands who the Red Hood actually is, that scene and going back and forth with, why did you do this? Why couldn't you just take this person out and end it once and for all? Like it gets to the heart of why Batman does what he does, and the idea of why Red Hood does what he does. And every time I read this book, I find myself saying, well, shoot, I see the truth on both sides, So, and the good thing is, you don't have to have read, this spiritual successor to Death in the Family. You don't even have to read that. It does the work for you in the middle of the story, so that way you can catch up. So,
okay, thank you. All right, my list.
You get a choice.
I get a choice. Yeah. Green Lantern Rebirth.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a great introduction to the DC universe, not just Green Lantern, but all of the DC universe. And it's one of those books that I think as a new reader, you'd want to explore this wide variety of characters while it focuses on Green Lantern and the return of Hal Jordan. And it is a weird introduction because I realized that the lead character is dead at the beginning, hence the title Rebirth. I think that's what the hook of this book is, though. So many people can get into this book because you want to follow these adventures of this guy that was once dead and is now in his redemption arc. You want to know why Guy Gardner punches Batman. Like, what's that inside joke about? It reminds me of, finding
Batman
a single...
punches Guy Gardner.
Yes. Spoilers.
No, you said Guy Gardner punches Batman.
Well, hold on a second. Yes,
Sorry.
but that in the JLI, that's what happens. In this book, Guy Gardner, for some reason, wants to deck Batman, and you don't know why.
Okay, sorry.
So the joke is that, Batman had punched him right in Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis' arc of JLI. But I think it's just one of those. It reminds me of like collecting single issues and finding a random DC comic as a kid, and then wondering like, oh, well, this is really cool. I'd like to know more about these characters, and I love to know. And from here, I mean, it just blows up. I mean, there was a reason these books sold so well. It went on and had a sister title with Green Lantern Corps, and then of course leading into Sinestro Corps, and then, oh my gosh, there for a while we had Red Lanterns, we had Larfreeze, we had all these spin-off titles just based on this beginning right here. The next one on my list is Wonder Woman, but I went with the George Perez run. Now, again, I like to stress that these are not our favorite titles, right? These aren't our favorite books. It does help that we like these books. Like my favorite Wonder Woman.
My favorite book. You can say it's my favorite book.
Okay, it's your favorite book. My favorite Wonder Woman run is Greg Rucka's run. But I think that the mythology and the artwork, and even though it's a little dense, I think this is a better introduction to the character of Diana. I love this introduction, and I think it's one that should stay in Evergreen. And then last but not least is The Flash, Born to Run. That's by Mark Waid. And it's practically Flash Year Zero. It's what Frank Miller did with Batman. It's what Superman did, or John Byrne did with Superman in the Man of Steel series. But it is an amazing introduction to the character of Wally West and how legacy characters work as a whole in the DC universe and what it means to be a legacy character. So that's why I went with Born to Run. So we only got 10 picks. We've got a lot of choices. We have I think 17 choices, right? If I'm not mistaken. How many of there? There's 7 of us? Oh no, God bless. No, we got more than 17 choices. We got 20 choices.
Yeah.
Right?
I was promised there would be no math on this show. So
yeah, 20 choices.
He'll do it for you, Chris.
Choices. We got you, Chris. So from the beginning, Lars, here we go. Let's break it down. We got Batman by Morrison, 52 Volume 1, and JSA. I think my problem with 52 is that it's already outdated.
It is? How?
It's because it's been retconned by the new 52 era, and a lot of those origins. Yes, I know, but I'm trying to keep it easier and more accessible. That's the point of these, right? I love the stories. And
but you could make that argument about virtually any comic from the zeros.
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's DC. Nothing matters ever. We can't rely on that argument.
Well, except
we have to kick out Perez
except weirdly for much of Batman and Green Lantern, because they were in progress when the new 52 happened.
I was going to say, or nobody told Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison what to do.
Yes, that is true, but those are the exceptions, not the rule.
But here, I'll come for Lars. 52. Like, how are you going to sell that book off the shelf? It says 52 on it, and it has an empty Batman mask. So people are like, "Ooh, cool, Batman! 52 of something with Batman." Like, it's fundamentally unconnectable for an audience who's walking in to check out some cool new DC titles that are always on the shelf.
And the other issue is that there's so many characters in here, and yes, they're B and C list characters. I mean, for God's sakes, we have Booster Gold running around, and I love Booster, right? But in order for something to captivate audiences, I think you need something just a little bit bigger, because the big 3 are missing from here. That is the whole purpose of this, right?
Well, that's what
no Superman, no Wonder Woman, no Batman.
Well, bluntly, that's what makes it more interesting. And I think we have to put some premium on a really interesting, engaging story.
Well, I think I'd rather pick JSA if that's the case. But go ahead, BJ.
Yeah. So my question is, where do you stop 52? Do you just You could give them the first 12 issues. Where are you stopping 52 for this Evergreen book?
I think Volume 1 contains the first 12. They've packaged this a couple of different ways. To answer your question, they first put it out as 4 trade paperbacks, I think. Then it was 2 trade paperbacks. You could slice it either way. You could slice it with 6 issues, 12 issues, whatever you wanted. I don't think we have to follow this that rigidly.
Well, that's true. No,
But if something has to go, I mean, I understand that logic.
I think out of the 3 choices, that's the one that I have the most problem with. I think the second one, even though I really love the stories, James Robinson and Paul Smith's JSA, I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. It's one of my favorite stories that I wish they would release in absolute format. But again, it's not about favorites, right? It's about what can captivate the audience. And
well, we're also looking for things that will hook people into the characters. And honestly, if the Golden Age doesn't hook you into the Justice Society, there's not much point in publishing the Justice Society ever again. Wow.
That sounds like an ultimatum, Lars.
No, but I'm saying,
agree
like,
with him.
if you're not into the Golden Age, then okay, that is fine. The Justice Society is probably not for you, which is okay.
I actually support that one. I think like that's the whole. It's a ground floor pick. Read it, love it or not. Now you know. Like that's an absolutely perfect Evergreen pick.
No. And Grant Morrison's Batman run still, commands a lot of attention. It was really interesting to me, like even when it was coming out, that a lot of the traditionalists were complaining that, it was too weird and it was too this. And I was like, well, if you just want a standard, traditional comic of Batman punching the Joker in the face, you will not be denied. You will not be denied traditional Batman. But this spins in a different direction.
Okay. I would say that, even more with, Batman Brave and the Bold, where James Gunn's kind of saying that, Damian's going to be in Brave and the Bold. I'd say Batman in the Sun is a great choice that should be, on everyone's top of the list if, just to understand Batman and Damian. So.
Yeah, I got no problem with Batman and Sun as a pick. In fact, that's my pick of those 3 on the screen right now.
Yeah, right now I'm leaning towards Batman and JSA. I really like those picks. I don't know if they'll make the final round. What about you, Jess? What do you think out of Lars' pick?
I agree with Batman and JSA. I love 52, but I also understand the points you were making. I feel like 52 to me makes a bigger impact on an old reader of DC, or someone very familiar with the characters, and how important it is that the Trinity is gone. And even though those are the 4 top writers that you have at the time, I feel like it makes more of an impact if you have some kind of knowledge going into this book. So, whereas the other 2, you can, especially JSA, because if you like JSA, then you can read Jeff Johns' 3 Hurricane Omnis of JSA, which is some of the most fun out there. So, and then Batman and Son, I mean, I can't argue with Damian's introduction, the little shit.
Well, it is interesting how it opens up with him virtually trying to kill Robin.
Love it.
Oh, vice versa, though. Vice versa.
That is
Well,
great.
yeah, but yeah, he's just so, he starts out being so contemptibly unlikable, and then you find yourself softening and liking him.
Okay.
If we're gonna pick a Batman book, I feel strongly about BJ's Tower of Babel. And did Chris pick that too?
No,
Just
just
under the Red
BJ.
Hood.
Oh,
He
okay.
picked Under the Red Hood, which I think it will come down to that, right? Because Batman already has Year One as an evergreen, Dark Knight as an evergreen, and I think it'll be like, which Batman book do we pick? So
Yeah.
let's come back to this list and move over to Peter's list.
Okay.
Peter, I
3
love
winners.
your-
I have
I love your
a third of the
list, but
picks.
Hawkman's got to go.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Hawkman's
I mean,
gotta
it's
go.
better.
I
It's
love
actually
Hawkman.
better than almost all of the other comics you guys have picked. Have you read it?
Okay, no, I think you're delusional, and that's okay. Must be all the
100%
avocado
support
and lime
Gotham
juice you
Academy.
put on your hair today because
Yes, you would support the Gotham Academy. You totally would.
Oh, Gotham Academy is perfect. Gotham
I
Academy,
love Gotham Academy. That is
I think
a
is the
great
perfect
book.
choice for what we're doing here. I
Yeah,
agree with
just
that one 100%.
Take that and get rid of the other two.
Green Arrow, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I
I'd
wholeheartedly
be
agree.
asking Odell to come to my side, but she has got to stump for her own Green
She's
Arrow
got her
pick,
own.
so I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
here
like,
on my own.
I
And
will.
then-
I
and then-
will
and then-
bat. I will
I was
bat
gonna
for
say-
Green Arrow in general. Honestly, like the Longbow Hunters and the Quiver were the two I was in between. I think both of them are some of the most iconic and quintessential Green Arrow runs for getting that character as a whole and a really good jumping off points. So I definitely think it's one of the best runs for him. I also, again, Gotham Academy, absolutely. Same reasons we gave for a lot of the Marvel books. I think it's extremely approachable. It's got more of the manga art style that brings in new readers who might not have read comics before, while also being grounded in one of the most famous comic book cities ever. So I think it's just an obvious choice to keep that one in.
Love it. Love hearing that.
And I would say the appeal of Mike Grill's run, of any of his run, is for those people. It's like, I don't want to see a superhero fighting aliens or anything like that. I don't want, I don't want to deal with like cape stuff like that. I mean, Mike Grell, famously, we don't hear Green Arrow as a character name except once or twice in the entire run. They just either refer to him as Ollie or the Vigilante. And it's very much ripped from the headlines that he took a lot of these stories from. So for those that just don't want to get into a Superman or a Batman, well, here's Green Arrow. That literally looks like you're reading a crime noir book.
Yeah, Green Arrow, Longbow Hunters is like decidedly adult as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like if our criteria is like kids entry, which isn't really, that's not the established criteria, but I feel like a kid walking in, right, opens up to that first issue of Dinah having intimacy issues, right? And it's like, oh, what is this? And closes
Fair.
it. It's me. I'm that kid.
Fair.
I mean, the thing I'll say, I think these are all great points. It's not, I'm open to feedback on Green Arrow because I was like, oh, is it as beloved as I think it is? And it seems like it is, but we have other reasons for it not to be on the list. To me, I've now read about just about all of those post-crisis DC relaunch books. And that I hold the Green Arrow up alongside Perez Wonder Woman, which is probably my favorite comic book of all time. I think it's that good, but I think you all have very good reasons why it might not be evergreen. So I will gladly take on that feedback.
I will chime in and say that between Green Arrow by Mike Grell and Kevin Smith, believe it or not, Mike Grell is not as dialogue heavy. And Kevin Smith's issues also have problems, if we're going by today's standards, that like in derogatory language that is right. If that is an issue, but if that's going to be an issue, then a lot of these classics might not be evergreen. But that's just my stance on things.
It was used as an issue when we did the Marvel Evergreen list, so it's only fair to use it as an issue here too.
Yeah, but DC is a different world, baby. There's no mouth in this house.
But okay, but it's also a panel of people that we can talk about this, right? Like we have to come to, because this is what happens in real life, right? You're gonna have you're gonna be working on a project, and there's gonna be things that are brought up, and not everybody has to agree on the same thing, and that's the beauty of this. Although Hawkman has to go, I think we all agree on that. And snuck that in there, Peter, for you.
Actually, if I can chime in for a second. Actually, I have in recent months, I actually read all of the Mike Grell run on DC Infinite, and from beginning, because I not read it beginning to end, and it is truly marvelous, and the Longbow Hunters is really a super pick. I would spike Hawkman because with the best of will, it's Hawkman. And here's the thing.
I found a new character to love, and you're trashing him.
Well, no, here's the thing. I deliberately, as much as I love Legion of Superheroes, I deliberately left Legion off my list, and the reason was because, as much as I love it, it clearly doesn't sell that well. And you can put out the best Hawkman story ever, it's not going to sell that well. And I think that's sort of a consideration. Well, selling is a factor of how many people are reading it. I don't.
Black Adam
as good as it
certainly helped
is,
the sales, right?
Yeah, as good as it is, I don't think people will read it.
Yeah, there's a reason why Jeff Johns' Hawkman is the only Jeff Johns omnibus that has not been reprinted. Just throwing that out there.
This
we're
is a
talking-
great Hawkman run, though. I will.
It is. It's
back
really
up
good.
Peter on this. This is the. I like this even better than
Killed my father. Okay.
I'll tell you what,
Thanks for
Hawkman
bringing
did.
it up.
killed
He
my mother and
confused that.
father in Crime Alley.
He confused the hell out of me in the 80s because nobody, including the editors or writers, knew what to do with Hawkman. That's what
But
Hawkman
that's the
did.
beauty of this run. You can throw all
Yeah.
that away.
I think
tell
Let
you
it
what,
happen
though.
for you, man. Just let
above
it
Jeff
happen.
Johns.
Rob Venditti has been trying to sell a single run of those Hawkman trades for at least 3 months. Like I saw him in person. He tried to sell them to me. I didn't have the cash. I seen him try to hawk them on Twitter like 2 weeks ago.
Shut up. Are
Still
you
there. I am so serious that
We should have had
single
him on
run
so he
of
could defend
Hawkman
his run.
trades.
BJ just annihilated my pick.
The author can't sell it.
You make him
That's,
sound like
that's just cold, man. Like,
You make
how do
him
you
sound-
argue against that?
it's like
I-
the ghost of someone who tragically died and now in the afterlife is still wandering around begging for people to buy Hawkman.
All right, here we go. Odfel, defend your picks.
Okay.
Okay, does Kingdom Come need any defending?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. It's on two people's lists. I don't know if I really need to defend it that much. I think it's iconic. Alex Ross art, like Alex Ross's art alone could probably sell this book to people. Let alone the story, which is also really good. Again, I think when it comes to
It is an
DC,
excellent
it's
story.
it's
The
up
only
there
negative
with
thing
like
I will say about this run is that it feels like the tail end of something. And if
Yes.
you're not familiar
Yeah.
with a lot of the DC universe, there is some confusion, especially when it comes
Yeah.
to like the twists and turns, right? When Billy Batson turns out to be Billy Batson. If you're new to DC, you're not going to be like, oh
No,
my
that's
God,
true.
that's genius. You're going to be like, who the hell is Billy Batson? There's a lot of things that happen. I mean, tons of Easter eggs aside. I think being a little familiar with the DC universe would help enjoy this. Now, I don't think that's a strong enough argument to take it off the list, though, because it is a masterpiece.
Oh, I quickly, if I can add to that. I'm going to put my thumb scan on this and seal of approval. Kingdom Come should be on the Evergreen list. However, I will say every newbie I have given it to has not taken to it. Not. And I think the reason is because they don't fully understand how the characters are normally supposed to relate to each other.
Yeah.
Therefore, they don't quite understand that they're acting out of character, and therefore they're kind of thrown off. It should be on the list. The quality is great. It's a historic comic. It's failed with every newcomer I've tried it on.
I enjoyed it as a newcomer, but it didn't make me want to read any of the DC books these characters were involved in. If that makes sense. Like,
because all the
this-
DC books were so different. These characters are so different, like Lars said, in this
Well, not
particular
even that.
story.
like I feel like as far as like newcomers, because this is one of the first comics I ever read, and I loved the art. But I feel like Alex Ross's art is so static, it almost feels like a gallery book. And even though it's stunning and it's pretty and the story is good, as a new reader, I feel like after this I gravitated towards much more dynamic books. Comparatively, as far as the art style goes, but I do feel like it is classic, but I do feel like it isn't the most approachable as a new reader for a lot of reasons. It's also quite dense, but
It's
Oh,
not
a little
approachable.
bit
It should be there anyway, I think. Yeah.
Anybody else got anything negative to say about Kingdom Come? I just invited Mark Wade to start watching. BJ, would you
Oh,
I got
boy.
nothing against Mark Wade.
Okay.
No,
Or
I'm not
Robin
asking
Diddy.
about Mark. I'm talking about Kingdom Come, BJ.
No, I have nothing negative about Kingdom Come.
All right, Chris. Any thoughts on Kingdom Come not being on the list? Because I think after this, you got it on yours, obviously.
Yeah, I've got it on mine. I mean, I that is a fair point to make. That it does require some passing knowledge of some of these heroes and understanding at that point. It can be dense. You also have some people, you get the touch of religion a lot in it at that point. That can turn some people off.
Okay. Well, Peter. Yes. Anything negative to say about Kingdom Come? Peter, are you biting your tongue? Let it out. What do you got?
Look, I personally do not care about comic books that are not in strict continuity. That said, Kingdom Come is a book that is based on a continuity, and that if you go back and appreciate that continuity, it opens up new richness to it. There's times when I can accept that I'm wrong And I also think we live now in 2023 in a comic buying world where looking at the end stage of a group of heroes or an alternate later version of a group of heroes is something that a general public of readers understands much better than they did even 5 or 10 years ago. So if there were any barriers to Kingdom Come being on the list previously, I think at this point they're well and truly eroded.
Okay. Jess.
That was almost word for word what I was going to say. So
You guys are so smart. You're too smart for this show. I don't know how you guys
especially
do it. Okay.
the barriers being eroded.
I was
That part. Yeah.
I had to Google eroded, and
Yeah.
I understand now
barrier.
what it means. Okay, thank you guys.
Brilliant.
Thank you for giving this show some kind of what's the erosionness. Okay, Arkham Asylum. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna tell you why, because it's a weird introduction to Batman. Batman gets his ass handed to him by security guards in this book. So it's not the Batman that most people will probably want to read about, right? If you're coming at it from the movies or even the silliness of Brave and the Bold, reading a book that is creepy, and it's wonderfully creepy. So maybe if you're into horror, this will hook you. But it's not what I think a good representation of Batman is. I love Morrison, and I love this book, and it's beautifully drawn. You're right. It is Dave McKean, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It is.
But there's just some almost Batman doesn't feel like Batman in this.
That's
Like, not
kind of
even
why
movie
I
Batman.
like it, though, is this is a book that doesn't focus on Batman. This is a book that focuses on the villains and gives them time to shine in a way that a lot of Batman books don't always allow to happen. This is a book for someone who wants to know more about the villains than they do Batman, and I would argue this isn't necessarily a Batman title. It's more of a Joker story, if anything.
Oh, so it's like somebody that just loved the Joker.
If they love the Joker, or like they played the
Joker.
Arkham Asylum games and they want to like know the Rogues Gallery or know things about Arkham or things about Scarecrow, like this is a really good book for that kind of thing. But I don't think, I think if you market this book as a Batman book, it absolutely doesn't stand up to other Batman quintessential stories.
Well, it is called Batman Arkham Asylum, isn't it? Yeah,
I think it's just
Batman
Arkham Asylum, isn't it?
Yeah, Batman's on the cover. I think they dubbed it Batman. I don't know. Anybody else thoughts on this? Like, what do you guys think? Chime in.
I have a tough time saying anything against Ødfel because she was nice to me on Instagram 2 weeks ago.
What the hell?
That's an interesting line, Jess.
Your
That's
love is so
fired,
fickle.
Jess.
She commented on a cat picture, so I consider her my best friend now. But I have a hard time with this being an introduction to a new reader with Batman. I think it would scare most new people away. I love the book. I love the horror elements of it. I agree with everything you said.
But you're wrong.
I also think this might already be sort of an evergreen pick.
It's not, believe it or not.
Okay. But I feel that there are more accessible Batman books that are still challenging and interesting to the reader. Please don't unfriend me on Instagram. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think,
your face? Please don't unfriend me. Okay, go ahead, BJ.
She's nice to me. What do you want from me?
no, I do think like for it's super stylized for one, right? I think that that's a barrier. Well, potentially a barrier, right? If I'm thinking of the 12-year-old, like, there's the 12-year-old that's like, oh yeah, give me this. But for the average person who's like, oh, what I think a superhero book is, they pick this up. This isn't that. So I don't know that it's a great introduction to comics, nor a great introduction to Batman. So I wouldn't pick it as like the evergreen book to sell on the end cap at a library.
Okay. Chris, what about you, buddy? What do you think about?
I think the art is definitely unique, but it's I like the art, but again, it's not necessarily what's trying to sell me. It's definitely a new reader. I think the art can be a pretty big turnoff for some people just because it's not it works for the story, but it's not one of those like, what is going on with this? Like, this is not how I see Batman. What's going on with Joker and what is he doing to Batman?
I think the art honestly could work on somebody. I don't know. I keep going. I think it's because BJ keeps mentioning 12-year-olds, but going back to that mentality of like being in school and then somebody would show me this going, dude, you don't know Batman. You think you know Batman? Shit, look at this book. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. What is this? Because, I'm into horror, I'm into Batman, and I've never seen art like this in a mainstream because during this time, Jim Aparo, Graham Nolan, and maybe I think it's Graham Nolan and Jim Aparo, maybe Norm Brayfogle are the main Batman artists during this particular time. So this would definitely stand out. But again, I think it's just the case of like how many kids are really like that are into horror and want to get into comics that way.
Well, this day and age, yeah,
true.
I absolutely feel like. Oh, sorry, what?
Oh no, I was saying there's definitely a lot of horror going around these days, so it may not be a turn off that
kids like scary stuff. It's a thing.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's, huh? That movie did pretty well.
That is true.
All right.
I feel like when it oh, sorry.
No, Jack Ferry's just saying Kingdom Come, Dark Knight Returns, Sandman. Well, DC already beat you to Dark Knight Returns, and Sandman is Vertigo. So we left that one.
Yeah.
Kingdom Come, I think we're definitely voting in.
I do have a teenager. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Lars.
Who has spent time in an asylum, and their roommate thought they were Jesus Christ Reborn. So certainly for her, this would be a great pick. I could give it to her and say, "You'll be very familiar with this." Yeah.
This is your target audience you're going for.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to write that one down. Just a sec.
What the heck, Lars?
That's a statement, Lars. Wow.
Lars has an anecdote for every
situation.
That needs to be a blurb on a book somewhere, like somewhere on the book.
I would say if this is going to be on an evergreen list in a way where it's competing with other Batman titles, absolutely not. If this is on an evergreen list as one of the few horror entries, I think it's phenomenal to bring people into DC in a way where this book made me interested in seeking out things like Sandman and Vertigo titles, because it is more in line with Vertigo while having the name recognition of Batman to bring new people into that side of comics. But if it's going to compete with things as iconic as like Under the Red Hood, absolutely not. So it kind of depends on what spaces we're trying to fill. Because I think if it's trying to fill a horror space that we don't really have built up in the DC one, that's where this one would fall.
And one thing to kind of bring us back to the topic, we forget that kids are more comfortable with horror than all of us together. Yes, but an evergreen list is not just targeted for kids, and I think we have to balance that. Yes, there are definitely books that we want to see that are circulated through the Scholastic Fair, but an evergreen list is also to lure new readers in, random readers that you can gift somebody. We have to find that balance of not just kiddie things. They can be some adult things, and we'll be fine. So speaking of adult things, Green Arrow by Kevin Smith or Green Arrow Longbow Hunters, or do either one belong on the list? Kevin Smith's Green Arrow is very similar to my Green Lantern pick. Both of them are coming back from the dead. As a matter of fact, the Spectre plays a big role in the first issue. Well, I don't think it's confusing. I think you can figure out, oh, this guy was a superhero at one time and now he died and he's coming back. Okay. It's really dialogue heavy because it is Kevin Smith. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that would turn people away immediately. I think really Kevin Smith's name would bring people in, of course, which was the point of this, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it's got a lot. This series both has and then leads to some of the most like iconic moments in the Black Canary Green Arrow relationship. And for me, that's largely why I chose this, because they're one of my favorite DC couples. I think they really shine. And I think of all the Green Arrow stories, this one's got a really good plot line for the two of them that's well balanced. She doesn't overpower his book, but she is present in it in a way that is conducive to the story. And again, having like Connor and Maya, I think her name is, there as well, builds a really nice kind of family dynamic that they all bounce off of each other really well. And it keeps the book well-rounded while also still focusing on like Oliver's struggles coming back from the dead and reacclimating with the world. Because he's gone for a while.
That he is. Yeah, he's gone for quite a number of years, and Connor Hawke had stepped up to be the new Green Lantern during Chuck Dixon's era. Go ahead, Lars.
Again, I read this recently because when I finished up the 80 plus issues of Mike Grell, I moved on and started reading this. I think the quality of this is stunning. It's a great book. I think like Kingdom Come, we'd have to decide it deserves to be on the list, even though I don't think it is good for newcomers, because rereading it recently, I was reminded of just how much of the remit was bring Ollie Queen back from the dead, and how much time he spends not as a man out of time with the world in which he's living. And the people around him are kind of like, when is he going to find out that he has been dead for 5 or 7 years or whatever? And I sat there actually thinking what a shame it was that Kevin Smith, had to bring him back from the dead, that he couldn't commit to just writing a Green Arrow story, that it kind of came with that baggage. So I think it's wonderful. But as a representation of Green Arrow, I'm not sure it is great because he's spent so much time acclimating to not being dead.
That's kind of where I am on it too. I mean, I want Green Arrow to be in the 10. I think he absolutely should be. I think in many ways, as people in the chat are alluding to, he's DC's Daredevil, where there's just like a lot of really great fun runs to choose from, even though he's not always their A-list character. But I just think a lot of space in this run is taken up by plot elements that are explaining or justifying something. Like there's a lack of purity to the Green Arrow of it, because as Lars just explained, there's just lifting that Kevin Smith necessarily has to do. It doesn't make it a not great comic. I just don't know if it makes it one of my first 10 Evergreen picks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But accessibility aside, it is pretty great. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say, like, I just want to see Green Arrow make the list. I'm like, if not this, then Longbow Hunters, because I'm like, both. It's hard finding a jumping in point for him, because he's one of the ones that's gotten really yanked around per series. But I do think he deserves to have his own Evergreen. I think he's a prominent enough character that I do want to see him make it to an Evergreen title.
And I think I do love Kevin Smith's run on it at that point. And if I have to pick one, I choose Grell's, just in the more sense of what we kind of said earlier. There's a lot of baggage already that the readers expected to kind of understand, not just his death, but the meaning of who Ollie was to these people. That I think that saying, oh, obviously it meant something to some people, but I have no real attachment to him at this time. And getting to know who Ollie is, they can better appreciate later on Kevin Smith's run on it.
I like that. I like the idea of having one Green Arrow. Hell, it's in the name, Evergreen. And if I had to choose between the two, my vote goes for Mike Grell's run, because I think it's easier to get into too. If you think about it, it's the whole. It was the whole idea to start that was to retell his origin, introduce you to the character in a new city. There's really no superheroics. I mean, Dinah's the only other character that appears for a long time, and introduces his own mythos and builds from there. And that first volume would be a quick read too. And I love Kevin Smith's run. I mean, and then eventually Brad Meltzer, and then of course Judd Winnick. But out of the two, I have to go with Mike Grell. But we'll come back to those, and let's talk about these books right now. Really quick, let me get a couple super chats. I'm so sorry. Jack Ferry saying All-Star Superman, DC New Frontier, and Swamp Thing. All-Star Superman is Evergreen. That's one of the books that's Evergreen. DC New Frontier, it's actually it probably will make it, and Swamp Thing is Vertigo. So there you go. And Lionheart saying my Evergreen list is Absolute All-Star Superman, Batgirl Omnibus by Gail Simone, and then Aquaman Omnibus by Jeff Johns. However, we will do an Omnibus Evergreen list at another time. We're focusing on trade paperbacks this time around.
Fun.
All right.
I like you, Lionheart.
All right. Jess.
Yeah? Oh, you want me to defend my choices?
Yeah, I got okay. I don't this is the toughest ones because I love you and I don't want you to dislike my pictures on Instagram.
No. I brought that on myself.
You did. That's never gonna go away.
You're always mean to me though.
I'm always mean to you. What the hell? Okay. I'm trying to find one here that I don't think would be a problem staying in an Evergreen list. Oh man, I hate to say this, but I think Tom King's Superman Up in the Sky is probably the one out of the three here that I think makes the most sense. It's got gorgeous artwork. It's got a story that you don't have to really understand the character that much, but it kind of, as you're reading this, like you said, without any spoilers, like it shows you the true what makes Superman tick. That's what I like about this book.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to disagree with Peter because I hardly ever do unless he's talking about Arthur Adams. But I think that's the one out of, because I think Superman and Legion is wonderful. I love that story. I can't wait for the Absolute. I'm sure we'll get an omnibus one day. The Question, I feel like it's part of the middle of a story because that story actually begins in 52. And if I axed 52, then I can't keep this because it's a little bit confusing why she's searching for the Blood Bible. So I think the Sky's the
I
one
agree.
book.
I like the question a lot. I was so happy that Jess stumped for the Question as a character, but I just don't think this book holds up by itself. There's so many plot threads coming into it. It's even for me, who knows this era of DC pretty well, I was mystified at points and had to like put it down and think, okay, what is happening? Who is that character? Why is this an influence?
Yeah, that's fair. One of the things I went for, because it was Evergreen, I actually tried to pick books that were out of print and needed to be reprint. And 5 Books of Blood I just thought had been out of print for like 10 years. Superman Up in the Sky, I think in hardcover's out of print.
Yeah, that one's out of print, and Legion of Superheroes is out of print.
So that's actually what I went for, because I thought if I want books to be evergreen, maybe I approached this the wrong way, and instead of picking different books, I tried to find out of print books that I really loved that I wanted to be evergreen. And so that's how I approached it.
You approached this from the heart, Jess, and I like that. I got to say, I like that. It didn't help your argument.
That's why you're adorable, Jess.
Yeah, much like a suicide run. You had a lot of
it didn't help your argument at all, but I love that you came from the heart. That's awesome.
I have a lot of heart.
Hold on, let me pitch a thick one. Grant Morrison, the Multiversity. What? Do you want people to get a headache? A meta comic about how DC Comics works? Let's call it Advanced. Okay, Advanced Evergreen.
Advanced is being
definitely do that one day. I like that idea.
An easy trio to cut. Oh, Peter, you son of a bitch.
See, Jess has my number this time because he's actually reading the chat, so he sees.
He's on it, man. I do want to hear from the rest of you. I've shared my thoughts on why I think the two and the only one that might make it for me is Superman Up in the Sky. Yeah. But what does everybody else think?
I do really like The Question. I do really like Montoya. I feel like if a Question book would make it to Evergreen, I could see it more than likely being Vic Sage. Personally, as I was doing my list, I was thinking about putting the Many Lives of Vic Sage, because not only does it do a good job setting him up, but it does also bring Montoya in and set her up. And when I was going through, it was the one personally I feel like would encapsulate The Question a little more. I think, again, 5 Books of Blood is phenomenal, but it does rely on a lot of knowledge, kind of like something like Kingdom Come, where it might be very confusing if someone's like, oh, this is my first book for The Question. But it is a phenomenal book. I don't read a whole lot of Superman, so I can't talk on the other two. I just am unfamiliar with them, but...
Yeah, that's fair. I went too granular on this.
Lars,
no,
Peter,
it's a good book.
BJ, Chris, you guys want to tear Jess apart some more?
I was very impressed. It's not surprising that Jess chose The Question. I was surprised at the 5 Books of Blood, but yeah, it's one of those that's saying I really like that book, but I'm a Question lover at that point, but not a lot of people are going to be saying The Question. What's that? It's one of those where unless you've watched Justice League Unlimited or some other animated shows, it's not going to be the most readily available. I do like the Legion choice, but Legion just gives people headaches a lot of times, and when they try to figure out who are these people, they're superheroes but figuring out where they exist and how they exist. But I agree with Tom King's Up in the Sky. It's definitely the most reachable, and I actually read it for the very first time this year. It had somehow been a blind spot for me, and I really do adore that book. So,
I gotta say something really quick, and it has nothing to do with. Well, it might have something to do with what we're talking about. My mother-in-law just texted me. She watched my Saturday stream, so she donated money to Peter David's fund, and there's an update that just came through, and Peter David is finally stable. So for anybody that's a Peter David fan,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Finally stable. So that's freaking awesome. I love hearing that.
I thought your mother-in-law was going to text how much she appreciates 5 Books of Blood.
I sent it to her. She wouldn't read it.
Did you guys piss Oddfell off? Like she left.
No, her wife. You need to let her back in.
I don't see her. Oh, there she is. She's at the bottom. There she is. There you are. All right.
My webpage crashed, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Yikes.
All right. Now we can continue.
If I'm like, I get the Legion of Superheroes pick. I'd stay away from the Legion of Superheroes. But also, if I'm picking Superman, or if I'm picking Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, I'm probably going Brainiac.
Yeah, son, because it's that good and
that
accessible. Love it. Yeah, that's a good one.
But out of these 3, I'd pick Up in the Sky.
Okay. Let's move on. Jess, you're still adorable and we love you. BJ's picks. Honestly, I think, damn it, I hate to say this, but I think he came out the strongest out of all of us today. He came out swinging big, man, because these were kind of my choices. Tower of Babel is easy to get into. You get to know the Justice League. You get to know how much there's no trust in the Justice League and how they feel about each other. You get to find out some of the big villains in this. You don't really have to know much about these characters because he does such a great job, and it does help to have like a big computer, telling you what each of their weaknesses are and where they come from and what their powers are. So Mark Waid, the freaking knowledge base that he is, I think that's such a solid pick. Super Sons is another great one. Easy to get into. The only problem is if you love animals, that first volume, not for you. Just saying, if you can't stomach any animals getting hurt, that first volume is pretty rough. I always tell people that when I'm reviewing the book. The only one that I would think, even though I just got the good news that he's stable, is Peter David's Young Justice. I think I would rather have like Jeff Johns' Teen Titans in there, or even Marv Wolfman and George Perez's Teen Titans as a teen book. But that's just my opinion.
Young Justice is not Teen Titan. Like it's BJ justified it pretty specifically to be like, I think we need a Young Justice book. This is not a Teen Titans team. Like, I know what you're saying. I mean, I'm not saying you're confusing the two properties. I'm just saying, like, I think we're in a world, media recognition-wise, where you can independently have a Young Justice pick and a Teen Titans pick. And it's telling that none of us brought a Teen Titans pick.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't bring my Jeff Johns Teen Titans or Marv Wolfman Teen Titans because I really thought those two would be on here. But that's okay. Instead, I got the question and the Blood Bible.
I have a really hard time arguing against any of these, and it kills me because I want 2 of my picks in the top 10. But it's just a really good list. Like JLA Tower of Babel, I wanted there to be a JL title, and it's just so hard to find one that stands on its own, where all the characters are dynamic, and it's not really just 1 or 2 of their runs, and the rest of them are standing around. And even though it's a prominent Batman run, they all have something to do. It looks great. Like I think if you have a Justice League book on the list, there's a pretty compelling and in continuity, right? This is in continuity. Maybe, yes, no. But anyway, I think if you have, or at the time, I think if you have an in continuity book, it's really hard to make an argument against this one. I'm interested to know if anybody can. And Super Sons to me is just like absolutely yes, full endorsement, absolutely delightful, works for people of any age, hilarious, A+.
Charming and wholesome. Lars, you look like you have something negative to say.
Well, no, Young Justice.
That's just his face. Omar, be nice.
I'm so sorry. All those years of watching and listening to Doctor Who specials.
It's true. It's true.
What is it about BJ that you don't like?
What? How dare you?
Let it out.
Wow.
Go ahead, share with us.
Wow. I got personal very fast. Young Are you okay?
I love making Jess break. I love it. He's just laughing nonstop.
Yes, you need it.
That's Super Son's wholesome right there. Like Jeff's laugh.
Is that okay?
All right, Lars.
Okay.
What's going on?
Okay.
What's wrong with this list?
Young Justice by Peter David. Excellent pick. Super Sons, great. Absolutely endorse that one.
Uh-oh.
The thing about Tower of Babel is that, again, even though it is pretty great, and it's been a while since I've read it, but from what I recall, it is great. It's not typical Justice League because, as you say, it is about Batman dicking them over. And as you say, it's a story about a vortex of distrust in the Justice League. This is a story when things are not normal for the Justice League. Now, if we're okay with that, okay, but you know, I don't think this is a great representative of the Justice League as a property.
I mean, are we anti-conflict at this point?
I got a rebuttal. Right?
Yeah, rebut that. Come on, get in there.
So,
Yeah, why don't you like Lars?
Yeah, just let it fly. He
Wow.
lets you have it there,
Take it
Peter.
out.
it's about Batman's transgression, but if we remember, the whole team has to work together to undo Batman's nonsense. Like, it is a great team showing.
Sure. Yeah, it's just the question for newcomers. If you start to, they might be tempted to go, why are mommy and daddy fighting? You know?
And it's not Batman's nonsense. He's being careful.
They're
yes,
fighting
you
because
totally see
Batman's
why
a jerk.
You can totally see why the Justice League's position is not going to be, oh, well, you were just being pragmatic about the whole thing.
He's always prepared. He's always prepared. He's thinking multiple steps ahead of us. We're playing checkers. He's playing chess.
If there's a 1% chance Superman can go rogue, we have to take that as an absolute certainty.
Sure.
We do.
I guess
I subscribe to that.
I guess I chafe a little bit just because we have such over-representations. We went through this phase, and we're still in it a bit, but it was prominent a while ago, of just trashing our heroes, and our heroes being dicks, and our heroes not as much caring about saving people. This was the whole Zack Snyder thing. And so that's only why this one gives me pause. But I recognize it is very good. Yeah, it's very good.
I think it's brilliant.
I would say if I just had to pick one of these three, it would absolutely be Super Sons. Like I like all three of these picks, but I would say Super Sons is an absolute must-have off of this list. I think it's approachable for all ages. I think Damian is becoming more and more of a focal character, both in the cartoons and in the comics, and adding Superboy into the mix is like a really cute team up that is easy to understand for new readers and approachable for kids and adults.
My pick is still his Tower of Babel out of these three, but I think the only one that doesn't work for me is Young Justice. I love that book. I love it. I love Peter David. I think out of these three, that one is the one that has to go. I mean, it doesn't mean that we have to kick all three out or any of them out. But
Young Justice is the weak link for me, but I stand by my picks. So
it takes a little bit to get used to, right? Like it takes a little bit to get into it, especially with the character, especially the way it's mapped, with Secret being a very confusing one shot, and then World Without Grown-Ups. Yeah, the World Without Justice League 2-issue miniseries, which introduces you to the cast of Justice League, but immediately they're swiped away to another world. That's the only one that I think is not evergreen worthy, but Chris's pick. Are we all in agreement that we're moving Kingdom Come to our evergreen list? Is that what everybody thinks?
Yeah.
Does anybody besides Lars have anything to say about that?
How dare you?
Tell me how much you hate me, Lars.
No, again, it's perfectly worthy of being there. It's just weirdly enough, it is not proven to be newcomer friendly, but it ticks every other box.
Okay. So Lars is outnumbered, and I'm putting it there because I don't want to be here all night. So that's our first one, right? Does anybody else disagree besides Lars that should not be on the evergreen list?
Which one? I missed it.
Kingdom Come. The baby agrees. Sorry, Lars.
That is Squeak.
Oh, get her on the air.
She's right there.
Oh, she's right there.
Yeah.
Hey, Squeak. My adopted granddaughter.
Hi.
Oh, you trying to win some brownie points over now? That ain't fair, BJ.
I'm playing single dad tonight too. That's what
all
happened.
three of your picks. All right, Chris. Out of this one, you already got Kingdom Come there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure New Frontier is going to be there.
Yeah, you can't get rid of New Frontier.
Again, the shock is that New Frontier isn't already an evergreen.
Yeah,
I
that's
kind
another
of
shock.
automatically assumed it would be.
I think out of this one for me, Batman Under the Red Hood has to go. And for a couple of reasons. Number one is that I think it helps to know a little bit of backstory as to who Robin was and why he got killed, because there's a lot of in jokes about the crowbar and Joker coming back, and then there's a whole mystery. And if the mystery isn't like a big shocking moment to you, like, oh my gosh, Jason Todd is back, then the story kind of loses that gotcha moment, right? That's the main reason why I think a Batman and Son is a better choice for an evergreen. Peter, you don't have a heart, so why don't you tell us why you don't want New Frontier on the evergreen list?
The abuse.
All right. Well, first of all, I think you could watch the movie instead. There's the first one. But
Watch the movie.
I think in opposition to Kingdom Come, which is an end state for heroes, that even if you know the current state of the heroes, you can kind of picture it. New Frontier is asking you to think of the heroes before some versions of the heroes that you know, which may be a little bit of a mind bender for people. But again, I even would maybe put New Frontier on the list over Lars's JSA pick, which I was positive on because it kind of scratches a similar itch. I mean, anybody who legitimately argues against New Frontier and the quality of it is, people have opinions and they also have other parts of their body that we shouldn't be seen on public.
Well, they're also wrong, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, let's cut Batman under the hood. It's not. Is it even like a top 5 Batman story? I don't know.
It's great. Yeah. It's great, Peter.
I'd cut under the hood.
I'll go to bat for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll go to bat for Under the Hood. I'll say again, kind of like some of the other arguments we made for other books. I don't think of this as a Batman story. This is like the quintessential Jason Todd story. Do you think Jason Todd is a popular enough character now that his origin would be worthwhile being a evergreen? Because this is kind of the story that sets him up being back in the main universe. You wouldn't really necessarily start someone out without this and jumping them into like Red Hood and the Outlaws or another story involving him. This is kind of his origin story. So I think not so much is this a good Batman story, but is Red Hood prominent enough to be on an evergreen list with his origin story?
No. Yeah, well, partly that, and partly that from memory, the ending to this was a bit underwhelming because this discussion that's going on between them is not actually meant to be settled. This is meant to re-inject Jason Todd into the DC universe, which I mean does fine. Well, also at his most murdery. I mean, he calms down a bit later on, but I do recall the ending being a bit. Oh, well, and now Jason Todd is back.
The ending was to be continued in Infinite Crisis.
Yeah. Whereas the other ones tie things off, or at least tie things off enough that you feel like you've had this self-contained experience. I think Under the Hood doesn't quite get there.
Mm-hmm. Jess, any thoughts on any of these that do not belong on the Evergreen list? What do you think? What do you think about the Batman, what we've been saying, Under the Hood?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. It's what Lars was saying. Something Palpatine returned. So Jason Todd magically shows up. If you don't know what's going on ahead of a time, even though it gets a little bit explained throughout the book. And of course, I am a well-known Jason Todd hater. So I, even though I own this book, read this book, enjoyed this book, I still hate Jason Todd. Boom.
But he does love Damian more.
I do. I voted 900. Kill that kid. So
I did too. Did you get your 75 cents back? I didn't. Really quickly, I'm promoting Warren to chat administrator for this.
No,
comment.
You are not.
I would rather read New Frontier kids than the art. That's how you become an admin of Near Mint Condition, by admitting the greatness that is
no
here
bar.
Too. All right. Last but certainly not least, I mean, all three are definitely going on the Evergreen.
These suck.
Right? These are amazing choices. How can you go wrong with any of these?
Two of them were going to be on my list, so I'm glad to see them on here.
Okay. Seriously, give it to me, Peter. Come on. Give me your best shot. What do you got?
Geoff Johns is garbage. We don't need Hal Jordan. He's a terrible character.
Okay.
And
Get rid of him, please.
I just got rid of him.
All
right, you're welcome.
Much better.
That's so much
Very
easier.
happy.
Like, are we in agreement or what? I can get. It's a push of a button, baby. I can get rid of anybody. Go ahead, Peter.
Man.
Give it to me.
We all know. I mean, those of you who know the deep lore of Omar and Omni Dog and all of us who are friends. Fariha and I hate Hal Jordan. So it's hard for me to be positive. I just I could never hear his name again, and I would be so happy. And also that Flash book, I know, like, we're making two different levels of arguments here, right? We're making one level of, is this book the right choice on its own? But then one of the other arguments we're making is, okay, but you couldn't bring another better book for that character. And I'm not 100% decided that Flash book is like the Flash Evergreen book. The way I am with Wonder Woman, I think the first 16 issues of Perez are possibly the greatest modern comics that exist. So it's really, I'm not going to argue against that one. So for me, look, I know I'm going to lose in Green Lantern.
Not a fan of Geoff Johns or Hal Jordan or both.
None of them. They can all get in the bin. Everybody involved in that book can get in the bin.
Oh wow!
Okay,
Okay,
a very large bin. Okay, I will back up what Peter's saying. Well, first of all, okay, again, I think I vetoed some stuff I just automatically assumed would be there. Like, George Perez Wonder Woman is such a fantastic intro reboot staple of it. I assumed it would have been there from the get-go. So
not an Evergreen. Yeah,
that one's absolutely positively fine with me. Green Lantern Rebirth, again, I think we slightly have the problem what we did with Kevin Smith Green Arrow, that this is contingent on how Jordan died. He's been swanning around as the Spectre. He murdered a lot of the core. I mean, the whole purpose of this was to rehabilitate him after tons of continuity what had passed, and I'm not sure it is all that great of an entry point, because a whole bunch of it's contingent on all this stuff that happened previously and isn't typical Green Lantern fare. It's Geoff Johns having to put this giant band-aid over things so he can then go on and do what he wants later.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm on record as a Hal Jordan hater as well, so it doesn't really help me in this situation, right? But I do agree, though, that this is the 6 issues is largely a means to an end. Like, it's a return to a status quo, but we don't get back to that status quo until the end of the 6 issues. So I don't know. Like, for me, when I read this was one of the first reviews I did on my channel, and all I got beat into my head is that Hal Jordan's the greatest Green Lantern ever, and nothing else really mattered. Like, I didn't particularly come away from it like caring about the Green Lanterns or about Hal, but I knew that in canon, everyone else felt like he was the greatest.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the Geoff Johns run serves the purpose a lot better. Like, maybe even just the next story arc. There's that one Darwin Cook issue that I love, where he's explaining like his relationship with Flight and his dad and all that. That's great. But Rebirth specifically, I'm not necessarily putting it on Evergreen List.
No, and if I could say, Johns kind of continues that through his entire run. He keeps thwacking you over the head with the idea that Hal is the greatest ever, without actually particularly showing you why he's the greatest ever. And again,
he's got willpower, man.
And again, this after he murdered Kilowog and God knows how many people and brought the entire court to ruin.
I'll give you that, but it's a redemption arc. It doesn't mean people are perfect, right?
A redemption arc after near total slaughter.
Yeah. Okay, Batman. He kept bringing it up. Like, chill, dude. It's all good. Like, I'm back. I'm good. That was the other guy. And as it turns out, it has one of the greatest retcons, as much as I hate retcons, in the history of comics, and that's introducing you to the concept of the parallax. Because up until this point, Hal Jordan was a murderer until Geoff Johns said, not really. There's this little worm that went inside of his ear, and that's really what kind of murdered everybody.
Sure. No, I completely agree with you. But the idea that even if he has, he was compromised,
Mhm.
The idea that he could slaughter that much of the core and then they'd be like, whatevs, we're fine with this. That's something you just have to kind of grin and bear. It doesn't actually make any sense,
Okay.
but you can grin and bear it.
All right, Peter. Anything else to add about Green Lantern?
I'd rather read 0 Hour again.
Okay. Well, you're dead
Oh,
to me.
wow.
Wow, 0
I actually
hours.
like 0 Hour, so that's not as mean as you might have thought it was.
Holy smoke, 0 hour.
I was thinking of like a great entry point for Green Lantern, and the two biggest ones are Rebirth and Emerald Twilight. I feel like Rebirth at least gives you that hope, whereas Emerald Twilight / New Dawn is like, oh, Hal Jordan is a murderer, but there's this new kid. He's the last one. It's kind of dark, like but it got a lot of people into Green Lantern, including myself, because I was done with Green Lantern until that storyline.
Well, yeah, that would definitely be one you wouldn't include on the Evergreen List. It's so wildly divorced from what Green Lantern should be. Oh, he goes insane and is a complete killer.
I disagree strongly. I think it needs to be on the list because I think it introduces you to the wider aspect of the DC universe, which at the time was important because of Jeff Johns. It introduces you to the Flash and then JSA, and then of course Infinite Crisis. They play a big role in that. I can see where everybody's coming from, so maybe it's the one to go. Wonder Woman. Any problems with Wonder Woman, or would you have chosen something else?
Absolute thumbs up.
I think, yeah, that's a thumbs up. That's one of her quintessential stories. I think it sets everything up well. That would be my Wonder Woman pick.
Jess?
And it's one they keep coming back to. Like everyone homages to that first arc of Perez.
I think it's wordy and dull.
It is wordy, but
I'd much rather read Greg Rucka's. Either one. I mean, you could read the Hikatea by itself and be okay. God bless George Perez. I loved the man, but this is not a Wonder Woman book that struck a chord with me. I realize that I'm vastly outnumbered, as I pretty much am for all my picks tonight, which is fair because I sucked. But
whoa, you're beating yourself up,
Jess. You got to give the people what they want,
No.
Jess. Last time you brought Gwenpool and you were celebrated for it. This time we were all looking for a Harley Quinn pick, and you let us down, Jess.
Well, it might show up later on once we get done.
Hang on.
All
right.
Okay.
I might
That's
redeem
fair.
myself. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of any of these three. I apologize.
Not a fan of any of these three. Okay, all right.
And,
BJ, any problems?
Why did
with
you not
Wonder
pick a
Woman?
Black Canary book nobody's ever heard of? I mean, that would have worked well.
Yeah,
Were you talking to me? If so, please stop talking.
I mean, full disclosure, I've not read any Wonder Woman, but I'm not opposed to George Perez, right? I almost picked Gail Simone's New 52 Batgirl, that first volume, to go on my list, just because I felt like we needed a woman represented, but also Gail Simone just writes really great woman characters. Like that first volume is awesome. Hold on, baby. But
Let's have some big talk.
here, you can have it. There you go. She wants to color. Let's find you a coloring book.
That's so cute.
Here, you can color on this. But yeah, so would I choose that over Wonder Woman without reading Wonder Woman? Maybe, but I don't have a problem with Wonder Woman.
Well, that should be the blurb on the back of the book. I don't have a problem with Wonder Woman. Chris, do you have a problem with women?
Whoa.
Absolutely
Why?
Whoa.
And why?
I have no problems with women.
Okay, good deal. So Wonder Woman is choice for the Evergreen List, right?
It's like, then what did I do?
So did no one have a single positive thing to say about Flash?
Wait, no. We haven't gotten to Flash yet, because Flash really belongs on an Evergreen List, and I think this would be the one to put on there, just because it's the beginning and it's a great introduction to Wally West. This has the whole introduction to the Speed Force and letting you know what the legacy is at DC Comics. That's why I chose this particular run out of the many Jeff Johns and many Mark Waid runs that I enjoy.
Have you read Williamson's Rebirth one?
Yeah. this is to me still better.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
Jake, I'm not a fan of that
I
run.
read it.
Flashpoint, by the way, is the only Flash book that is evergreen.
Oh,
Which is
As it
insane.
should be. That's the iconic one, though.
Movie and everything that happens and revolves around Flash, so it makes sense, but still really weird.
It's the quintessential Barry tries to save his mother from being murdered and screws everything up story. Yeah.
All right,
Barry.
so who doesn't like my Flash pick?
Me.
Besides Jess, because he said he didn't like any of my picks.
I have not read this one, so I can't really comment on it.
I'm
Okay.
a little agnostic on it because I recognize it's really good. Are there other Flash stories that are better? I mean, I've read a healthy amount of Flash, but not as in depth as is maybe required here.
Okay. Peter, what about you?
Like I said before, I just don't know if this is the Flash run for me, which I know it's a great Flash run and it's beloved by all. I don't
Apparently
know if I'm
not.
convinced.
Okay. How can I convince you? Like, what do
Tell me,
need to
I
do?
mean, who? So somebody picks this up cold. They're one of the people who liked the Flash movie. They walk into the comic book store. They say, "Sell me a Flash book." The comic book person says, "Voila! This Flash
You
book
got
is
two
on
choices.
the
You
Evergreen
got-
list."
Flashpoint or Flash Born to Run? Born to Run
So
is
sell me Flash Born to Run instead of Flashpoint.
Okay. Born to Run is completely new reader friendly because it is the origin of Wally West and how he became the Flash, but also introducing you to Barry Allen, right? Because it is a flashback story where we learn how Wally West became the Flash and how he looked up to Barry Allen. And then you get to see the whole dynamic of the family work together, and slowly you go through the different periods of time when he was the Flash, eventually joining the Teen Titans, and then eventually, because of Crisis, becoming the Flash. Because, well, Barry Allen, the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, to me, this was the hook for Mark Waid's run on the Flash. I always tell people, like, if you're reading Mark Waid's run and you get to Born to Run and you're not digging it, it might not be for you. That and Return of Barry Allen are probably the two most iconic stories in Waid's Flash run. But Return of Barry Allen requires a little bit more knowledge. Otherwise, the twists and turns are lost on you. That's why I went with Born to Run. Jeff Johns does an amazing job of reintroducing the mythos to people and modernizing a lot of things. And it would have been cool to put like Rogues or Rogue War on here, or Blitz, which is my favorite Flash story of all time. Peter, you need to stop making those faces.
Oddly enough, I mean, and this could sound weird, I'm actually a little resentful over Flashpoint because Jeff Johns, the Flash is supposed to be a bright, shiny, character. He fights bright, shiny villains in Central City, all this good stuff. And Johns saddled him almost permanently with this tale of woe that his mother was murdered, his father was framed for the crime, and all in prison. And that has rippled into the Flash TV show. It rippled into the Flash movie. And as they even discussed in the TV show, it's like there's nothing Barry can do to undo this tragedy. And he's going to be permanently sad because of it. I just think, God, did this character need to be that riddled with horror in his life?
Well, none of that is in Born to Run.
Well,
So
no,
that's
I know.
okay.
No, I know. But we're discussing the merits of this versus Flashpoint. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and pick some more then. Let's go back to the beginning of it. So maybe not Flash and maybe not Green Lantern for mine, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and make our final decisions for the list. We've got two so far.
We
got
know
Wonder
which ones
Woman,
are like, we know which ones we've officially put the hammer
Yeah.
down and said yes, right?
out of all these, I think Batman and Son deserve to be on the Evergreen list.
Agreed.
If we're gonna pick a Batman book, it has to be Batman and Son for me. I think it's a great introduction to not just Batman, but the whole idea that, oh wow, he could have a son out there. That's really weird.
How many are we cutting? 11? No, 10?
We're cutting a
We're
lot.
getting rid of 10.
There's 20 choices, so we're getting rid of 10. Yeah,
Cut in half.
cut in half.
Okay.
That's quite a
That
number.
does leave room for my 2 picks at the least.
well,
So,
That,
right.
and that is all that matters. We need
Easy
to make
now.
sure.
Easy now, BJ. I think Batman needs to stay. I think that's the one that we keep on the list. Anything else, guys? Lars, last word.
I was gonna say I would argue for JSA, but I can't remember if it was Lars or Peter was saying earlier that New Frontier kind of fills that void of a nostalgic kind of older feeling book that would be approachable for new readers. So I think going for New Frontier instead is probably the move.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It does and it doesn't. There's a whole lot of characters in here, and the original characters, never mind you, that aren't in New Frontier. So there is that, and the Justice Society is the first superhero team. DC's going to keep swinging back to it at various points.
I'm not against. Let's see how the list looks. Let's see what it's looking like when we get up to 8 books. So I might want to come back and stump for JSA a little bit.
Okay, we got 3 so far. Batman. Okay, out of these, I think Green Arrow. This is just me.
And Gotham Academy, if I recall the discussion.
What you did correct, right? But if I had to choose one out of the 2, because we got 10, right? We got 8 slots left, 7 now. Gotham Academy over Green Arrow. I can't believe I said that, but I'm also going with my what would sell and what would be better evergreen in the long run. No pun intended with Longbow Hunters.
I think after our discussions, Longbow Hunters is a better entry level for Green Arrow, and I want to see Green Arrow make it to an evergreen because I think he's a prominent enough character to have an evergreen. So for me, I'd say Longbow Hunters and Gotham Academy both should make it through.
Okay, that's 2 votes for that. Lars?
Definitely Longbow Hunters. Again, I'm kind of agnostic about Gotham Academy. It is good. It's certainly good. Could I convince myself there's better? Sure. Either way.
Okay.
And definitely not Hawkman.
Definitely not Hawkman. I love it.
If anybody wants Hawkman, Robert Vinci has a copy that he is ready to sell.
Apparently he's got a whole run, dude. Right, he's got a whole run of books.
Rob, what's my story? No one? Oh, that doesn't make me feel bad.
Oh, geez, poor guy. All right, Jess, what do you think? Longbow Hunters and Gotham Academy?
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent. All right. Anybody else got anything else to add?
I've never read Gotham Academy, so it's on my list, but I have no opposition to, I'll choose Mark Grell, but I'm not going to stop at Gotham Academy for making it.
Yeah, so I would choose Mike Grell off this list. I've not read Gotham Academy either. It looks very appealing. I can see why it would make a list like this. And the only reason I won't vote for it right this second is because I feel like Super Sons jumps over it. And so if Peter gets 2 picks on the list before I do, like I just got to pick. Yeah.
That's tough.
It is only fair.
Real talk, because I love Super Sons, but Gotham Academy is it's just a different vibe because it's got that school thing. Like Super Sons is kind of like 2 kids striking off on their own. That's its own kind of vibe, its own kind of traditional beloved story. And Gotham Academy's much more like School of the Secret, which is its own trope. It's hard to compare them both as kid books.
I want them both on the list.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
I actually tried to read Gotham Academy, and frankly, it didn't really grab me, but I recognize that I'm probably not the target audience. And in a world where Wednesday is, one of Netflix's biggest hits, this makes a lot of sense, certainly.
Okay. So far, Chris, what do you think? Green Arrow and Gotham Academy, or just Green Arrow and definitely not Hawkman?
Well, it sounds like Hawkman's off, and I'm not going to bother trying to defend it. I will stay with Green Arrow, Mike Grell. Just like I said, I can't say yes to Gotham Academy because I haven't read it. Doesn't mean if I do read it, I won't like it, but I can't vote for something I haven't read. So.
Wow.
Y'all got little kids and you haven't read Gotham Academy yet. We gotta get cooking on this.
I choose Super Sons. I guarantee you if I put Gotham Academy or Super Sons, my kids are going to gravitate to what looks like Superman and Batman at that point.
Fair. That's fair.
I know Chris's kid. Recognizable heroes.
Yeah. All right. Oddfel's pick. Kingdom Come's already added. Arkham Asylum and no. What about Green Arrow? 2 Green Arrow books?
I'm going to say no. I'm gonna say no to Green Arrow because after we all discussed and talked, I do think I agree that this one spends too much time reestablishing him as being alive, and I think that Longbow Hunters is more solid. And I don't see him getting 2 evergreens more than likely. I mean, if someone wants to go to bat for it, but I do think after discussions, I agree that Longbow Hunters is the more solid entry point for him.
Odell, you're your own worst enemy. You have voted yourself out of 2 choices. Okay.
Listen,
God bless
I
you.
was between the 2, and my mind has been changed.
All right, everybody, listen.
Keep scrolling.
We all know we love Omni Dog, right? We
Wait,
love
what is
Omni Dog.
He's adorable.
He is adorable. He is such a nice guy. The YouTube's
Everything
greatest
crashed.
people.
Okay.
But do any of these books belong on an evergreen list?
Superman up in the sky.
That's the only one I would give. That's the only one I would give. Keep in mind,
I agree. Get rid of the other 2. Superman up in the sky.
I've not actually
Lars.
read up in this. I've not actually read Up in the Sky, so I don't know.
Damn, Lars. All right,
I know.
Peter,
It's,
you love Tom King.
I am a
Peter.
terrible person. I understand.
Yeah,
I vote Up in the
help
Sky.
you with your lighting and your microphone.
Up in the
Just
Sky
vote
moves
for my
on.
fucking pigs. What's wrong with you?
He's so angry right
And
now.
that-
He's losing the adorableness. He's so
Dude,
angry.
it's why
is
it's
off.
a democracy. It's a democracy. We got to vote on this.
But
Peter,
this light brainwashing me. Yeah.
None.
none. Wow, 0. Not even his adorableness will get him 1. Okay, Odfell. Doesn't mean you
I
won't
have
like
not
his
read-
post on Instagram.
I have not read Up in the Sky. I did hear it did very well, but I haven't read Superman, so it's hard for me to say if it should be on this list. So I will defer to the people who have read Superman. But if people are feeling strongly that it's a good story, I'm here for it, but I just haven't read it.
Okay, BJ, Chris.
Yeah, I vote Up in the Sky. That should move on. I've got it. That's the 4th one that makes it through based on vote.
It would be the 5th one. So far as
What?
Kingdom Come, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Green Arrow, it would be the 5th one.
Oh, we haven't gotten to Wonder Woman on this round yet. That's why I didn't write it down yet.
Oh yeah. That's why. So still
Up in the-
yes on
Up in
Superman.
the Sky. Yep.
Okay, that's 4 yeses for Superman and 3 no, or actually 2 not read it, and then Peter's just an evil man.
And just a jerk. What the hell?
Okay, so Superman makes it to the next round so
Yeah,
far.
Peter.
All right, BJ's picks. Here we go. This is it.
JLA in.
I
Come on,
vote
people.
yes,
Rally.
100% on JLA, and yes, 100% on Super Sons. That's 2 picks. The only no for me is because of Young Justice. But that's just me. What about you all?
I would keep Young
As
Justice
with
despite
JSA, I
Tower
could-
Babel.
I could come in and stump for Young Justice later if we have a spot left, but I absolutely believe the other 2 should be on.
That's kind
I
of where
should've
I'm at
changed my
too.
vote
Like
to the
I
first one.
absolutely think that Tower Babel and Super Sun should make it through. If we have extra spots, I'd probably go to bat for Young Justice to also make it on. But at least
Okay.
those 2.
Okay. Jess, Chris,
I like Tower Babel and Super Sons.
Tower Babel.
I haven't
and
read
Super
Young
Sons.
Justice,
Okay.
but I love
And-
both of those Tower Babel and Super Sons.
Okay. Chris, you still with us, buddy? Or are you spanking your kid? What's going on? We're back.
You are coming for Chris hard.
Always good to turn the video off before the spanking begins. Yeah.
Is that what you tell your wife?
I think my dad would
And
purposely
the
take
sound.
me to.
And
My
the
dad would
sound.
purposely take me to the grocery store and then spank me there. That's how he did it, just to show people he means business. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move JLA and Super Sons, just to go ahead and get this round over with. So that leaves us a couple slots open. For dang it, Chris isn't here. Chris's picks. Kingdom Come's already moved in, and what are y'all's thoughts on
Yes to New
New
Frontier, no to Batman Under the Hood.
Did we
Agreed.
unanimously support
Agreed.
New Frontier?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think New Frontier needs to move in.
Again, startled it wasn't there in the first place.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
one of those that was not there in the first place. You're correct. And no to Batman Under the Red Hood, right? Is that correct? New Frontier moves into the slot. Let me.
Chris just texted me. He agrees with what we're saying.
So none of his make it.
No,
And
Chris
all of
does not
mine do.
I could see coming back to for Under the Hood. It's like my third alternate at this point, so I got to see what's on the list.
How many spots we have left? Because I think we're getting close.
The good news is we've got 3 spots left.
Oh, let's
wait a second. Forgot to put. Hold on. Let me move this over here. So New Frontier takes that spot. So actually no. We got 3 or 4 spots depending if we put Gotham.
Well, then I'll throw Under the Hood in there.
Well, no, hold on.
No, I don't like any of your picks, and that's all.
Right.
That's left.
Wonder Woman stays. So that's
Wonder Woman stays. So we have 2 spots left or 3 spots left?
Okay, what I have so far is Kingdom Come, Wonder Woman, Batman and Son, Green Arrow, Mike Grell, New Frontier, JLA. Oh, I forgot to add
Up in the Sky, buddy.
Super Sons and Up in the Sky. Oh gosh, we don't have much slots left. So we have 2 slots left if we don't add Gotham Academy. We've got 1 slot left if we add Gotham Academy.
Ooh.
I think we should add Gotham Academy.
I'd like Gotham Academy and Wonder Woman for $200. Right there.
All right, Wonder Woman's already been added, so that was counting one of those slots. All right, Gotham Academy has been added. We have room for 1 more. I believe it has to go to. Let me go back. Okay, so we have Green Lantern Rebirth, Flash Born to Run that could be added. We also have Batman Under the Red Hood that could be added, or Young Justice that could be added. Superman Legion of Superheroes in the question. Kevin Smith Green Arrow and Arkham Asylum. Hawkman and JSA and 52. If I had to choose out of all of these, I would go with my own, which is a Green Lantern Rebirth. But that's just me. But
I will go with JSA.
JSA. Okay. Peter, what about you? Or I'm sorry, Lars, you're first. Pick the last one.
You're muted, dude.
You're muted. The one time you can't be on mute.
I know. No. Sorry, I was choking there. Why did you not save me? I mean, I hate to just vote for my own, but I just...
Oh my God, is that what's going to happen?
I don't. I fell in love with... When the first time I read JSA, I was like, this is something truly special. And nothing has changed that opinion in the years since. And I think it is such a great entry point. And Paul Smith is such a remarkable talent. He hasn't actually done that many comics over the years, not for as long as he's been alive. So his pencils are gorgeous, just stunning.
Okay, that's 1 vote for JSA, 1 vote for Green Lantern.
I voted for JSA also. Oh, am I going out of turn? Sorry.
No, you're fine, dude. You're fine.
I'm just yelling.
Peter, what about you? What's your pick?
Flash.
My man.
You convinced me with that last description of it. It kind of made me go like, oh, maybe I didn't read it with enough heart. Maybe I got to go back.
It's heart. It's got heart.
I want to back my own, but I think I'm going to go with Young Justice.
Oh my God!
I want to say Arkham Asylum. I want to say Arkham Asylum so bad, but we do already have Batman picks in there.
Okay. Jess has already picked JSA. BJ.
I mean, if I felt going with Young Justice, then I'm gonna go with Young Justice.
Of course you are. Because it is yours. Okay. Chris, your saving grace. We got 2 votes for Young Justice, 1 vote for Flash, 1 vote for Green Lantern. What do you got?
Like I said, I can't vote for Gotham Academy because I never read it. One day.
Well, you were outvoted, so that one was already in.
Yeah.
So we have one more room.
So I will say what I have read and what was phrased perfectly in the sense of a good introduction to a character you can put in someone's hand and learn all about. That would be Flash, Born to Run.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, so do we have like a 3-way 2 split?
Yep.
We do. We have a 3-way 2 split. So.
Omar, you have to pick one.
Okay, well, I guess I can't pick Green Lantern, so I'm going to go with my other choice, which is Flash. So that's 3 votes for Flash.
I'm not mad at that choice.
All right. What about you all? Ødfel and BJ. No. Wait. Damn it. Hold on. No,
It's a
Peter voted
three-way
for Flash.
team vote, so you were the swing
Okay,
vote.
wait. Now it's 3 votes for Flash, right? Is that the swing
Yeah,
vote? Is that it?
It was 2 for JSA, 2 for Flash, 2 for Young Justice.
Hell
One for
yes.
Green Lantern.
You're like the
Yeah.
the vice president coming into the Senate and breaking the tie, by voting for your own party. So
Yeah.
It's what I do best. If I'm not voting for me, nobody gets a vote. All right, we have our list. Let me stop sharing this and reload it really quick and share it with everybody. So our DC Evergreen list has been chosen, and it is present. Thank you all. This has been hella fun. Share screen. There we go. Okay. This is our final list. Kingdom Come, Wonder Woman by Perez, Batman and Son, Green Arrow by Mike Grell, Gotham Academy. You got 2 choices in there, Peter. New Frontier, JLA, Tower of Babel, Super Sons, Superman Up in the Sky, and The Flash, Born to Run. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our Evergreen list. But we're not done yet. We got one more thing that we snuck in here.
That is a good list.
that's a great
solid.
list.
That's really
There are
solid.
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
great choices, and ultimately you just have to pick something. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very good.
I mean, unlike the Marvel show, I legit would hand a stack of 9 of these comics to somebody.
Oh, that's high praise.
What's the one you
9.
won't?
What's the one you
Wait,
won't?
wait, Peter. Someone you like. Right.
What's the one you won't?
I don't like Tom King. I can't hand somebody a Tom King comic.
So Jess is completely out.
How are we friends? I don't even know why you make it
I love
hard
that
to be your
it's
friend.
the guy that hates DC is telling you that your DC pick's so bad he wouldn't even hand your one that made it into the list.
Holy
Oh
crap.
my
I am so
God.
glad you are on the other side of the world.
That's just cold.
So if somebody wants to take a screenshot of this, I'll be happy to
It's
share. it on
snowing in
social
New Zealand
media.
right now because it's just...
But that is our
Oh,
Evergreen list. Now we do have something else that Peter always loves throwing in, and that is choosing one Birds of Prey trade paperback. Now we
So let
all
me,
picked one, and
Let me
everybody
set this up.
go ahead. Tell us about it, Peter.
So the idea is you could have us come back and have these arguments again and again. And instead of just doing an overall Evergreen list, we could have the kind of fight you saw us briefly have over Green Arrow over every character and franchise in the DC family. I mean, let's have a Superman Evergreen boxing match. That'll get hot. So this is just we tried to pick a smaller title with not as many choices and maybe with some obvious choices to see how that would go with this panel. And that choice was Birds of Prey.
What a wonderful way to put it. Exactly how Jess would have worded it.
Word for word.
All right. So
Only nicer.
just popped in. Honestly, love 4 out of 10 of them.
4 out of 10.
Thank
Oh,
I bet
praise.
Tom
Was
King
one of them
endorsement.
Guy at least?
maybe he liked the Tom King choice. That would have been
Yeah.
one of his. All right, let's do Birds of Prey. We all made a choice. We didn't see each other's choices, but here we are. Ødfel, Omar, and Lars voted for Gelson's paperback. Peter voted for Batgirl in the Birds of Prey. Now, is that the same as Chris? Because Chris went with the Rebirth Volume 1, who is Oracle. Would that be the same?
It's Rebirth. I just picked a cover from later in the
Oh,
you can
okay,
get that
okay,
whole
so-
run into one book. Yeah.
And BJ, I wasn't sure on yours. Is yours the second volume? Because that's the cover you sent me. So it's the second Gail Simone run that started with the number 1 after Brightest Day.
Yeah, it might be the same as Oddfell, Omar, and Lars, honestly.
Okay.
Just being completely honest, I've read like 0 Birds of Prey, so I just went through and read a bunch of issue 1s
Mhm.
and picked one. But it's Gail Simone and Ed Benez, and I was like, no, this is a great introduction. I liked it.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's the same as Oddfell, Omar, and Lars, though.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and combine those. Let's just say that you're with us and Peter's with Chris, and Omni Dog stands on his own with Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, a Black Label book. Jess, you got to give us your pitch, buddy. What is it about that book that says Birds of Prey to you? The title?
Yeah, and that's about it. Admittedly, I'm cheating a little bit here because this is mostly a Harley Quinn book. but she has made some major mistakes in her life, and has to count on the birds of prey to help her take down the people that burned down her building, hurt her friends. This is the new 52 rebirth run by Amanda with great Amanda Connor art, with Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor writing. I like this book in particular because Huntress kills people in this, and I always like that. Harley has to go find the people that burned down her building because she was behind on her mortgage. And it is a bunch of guys, blah, blah, blah. She goes in, they beat him up. And it's got Renee Montoya in it too, which is great. It's got Huntress, Cassandra Cain, and Black Canary. And they're backing her up all the way. It is extremely funny, extremely filthy as far as verbiage goes.
From Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti? That's shocking.
I know, right?
That was sarcasm, Lars. I caught that.
So it's extremely violent, but also extremely funny. And I am known as a huge Harley Quinn fan. I knew everybody else was going to be picking the traditional ones, but this is just a blast because she just has fun and violence, and the birds of prey. She can't do it without their help, and it's three of the great birds of prey along with Renee Montoya helping, and I just dig it. It's a ton of fun, and I can't get enough of Connor and Palmiotti's writing and art, and I just think it's a blast. My other issue with Birds of Prey in general, everybody else's picks are great. Birds of Prey is very poorly collected overall.
Yes.
It is.
We don't have like the complete Chuck Dixon run. Like they stopped at volume 3. We have volumes like 1, 2, and 3 of Chuck Dixon.
Well,
and
they're kind of going like
volume 1 if you want 47 through 49. You got to go to this DC Comics, the sequential art of Amanda Connor. That's the only place it is. It's not even collected in trade paperbacks.
No, it's awful. Like the way that they started off good and then it fell so badly.
Yeah. Now, as far as Gail Simone goes, that is a great run. I love that run. It's kind of a piecemeal collection. They are making some kind of effort to finish it off, which I think is good with some what is it, fatties that are at the end of the run, a couple of fatties at the end of the Birds of Prey.
The books. Yes.
Yeah, the books are fatties.
Clarify that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Gail Simone, I just wish, she's getting a great omnibus with Secret Six, because that's very easy to collect. It was all put out in trade originally, and I don't know what the deal is, why they're having such a hard time getting it all together. It's a book I think that sells well. I think it's a popular book, and the trades they've made easier to find. A lot of them have been out of print, so that hasn't helped. But that's my only issue with the Simone run, is that it's so hard to get it complete.
Well, Simone's run at least has been collected fully in trade, whether in the old skinny trade.
The first maybe I'm thinking of the Chuck Dixon with 47 through 49.
Chuck Dixon's run only had 3 volumes, and then the 4th one I think was solicited, but then got canceled. I will say that with Simone's run, they did mess up with the new books. The new fatties they were bringing out, because they skipped one. Like, it wasn't on purpose. I think they really made a mistake, and with the mapping, they were like, "Oh crap!" But they
do you not think it's an epic thing where they were just jumping around?
No, that's definitely not. No, there were no numbers in the back. I really think like, whoops, we sent the wrong files to the printer. But they did rectify themselves, and it solicited for coming out in 2024, which makes me happy as
That's
it is,
good.
or maybe it already came out. But anyway,
Jess, please notice how Omar's taking your comic and set it there away from everybody.
right, no, that wasn't.
As if you've been ostracized from ancient.
Oh, no. That means it's been highlighted, my friend.
Good.
Those two are bumping into each other over there.
All right, so by process of elimination, I guess me, Ødfel, Lars, and BJ win, right? I mean, this is what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were voting. Peter, and Chris.
I mean, to be fair, Omar, when you ask me why do I hate women, I think you should say the same thing to DC. Why does DC hate women, and why they don't collect Birds of Prey well?
Oh my god, literally. It's so hard to
I didn't
collect
say
women's
why you
books.
hate women.
They make it
I said, Chris,
impossible.
do you like women? And that's how I got my Wonder Woman pick.
Yeah.
I will add it if this needs to be justified. In my mind, there is Gail Simone Birds of Prey, and there is all other forms of Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
She is just the most. She is smart and she is funny and she is warm and meaningful, and she just finds ways. She knows those characters perfectly and so intimately, and that's what makes it shine. Because Chuck Dixon and company came up with the Birds of Prey, but a lot of that's just meat and potatoes. Nothing wrong with it, but it's meat and potatoes.
Well,
This really sings. Gail Simone's Birds of Prey really sings.
Well, and then she introduces us to the concept of using Huntress, right? Because before it was just Black Canary and Oracle, plus a special guest star, sometimes Catwoman, sometimes somebody else. Gail Simone's like, wait a minute, there's enough room here for another character, and brings in the badass that is the Huntress, who honestly in the Bat books has taken a step back until Jim Lee redesigned that costume in the Hush saga, and everybody all of a sudden became a Huntress fan. Like, oh my god, Huntress is really hot. It's a hot costume, and then that's the costume that she kept for the longest time. And Ed Benes, I mean, let's face it, Ed Benes drew for his target audience that cake, and there's Ed Benes cake all over that Gail Simone run.
Well, and he's just a great artist. I mean, you could be a great artist.
Yes, there's a reason why he got Justice League.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just say this. This is the most recent comic guide I think I did for my site. So I've been through all these comics really recently. And I had these two side by side on my screen, deadline approaching to email Omar. And what broke it for me is like, do I want to pick something that has Batgirl actively in it or Batgirl as Oracle? And it's tough because to me, Birds of Prey is Barbara as Oracle. But to hand a book to somebody random I know who might want to read a DC comic book, maybe I'd rather give them a book with Batgirl in action. And I actually love this run. I really, really love it. But I think this is my top two, and I'm very happy to lose to a Gail Simone book.
Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, so this is my favorite team. It's my favorite team. It's extremely hard to track down. I'm really surprised no one said New 52. I was like, I'm looking at this list. I will just say, because no one picked it. I'm honestly surprised too. I'm going to mess up saying his last name, but the Swearinsky, I think, run from New 52 with Katana and Poison Ivy is also phenomenal. I think personally, I might prefer it a little bit to the Rebirth one. Both of them are flawless. I think what this is going to come down to is kind of the eras. Gail Simone really captures Birds of Prey really well, as Lars was saying. Birds of Prey also has them all set as adults. The thing you're going to run into with everything post New 52 into Rebirth is they did the reset with Batgirl to make her Batgirl of Burnside. And they turned Black Canary also into a teenager who is like a rock star on the road, very Scott Pilgrim-esque book at this era. So what you're looking at is the difference between kind of like an adult team up and then a teen team up. And both books are very good, but I will say Rebirth has a very different tone, which is a benefit and, a curse for it. But I do really like the teen dynamic that Birds of Prey from Rebirth has. It's like a really fun kind of like girl gang feeling book compared to the original one.
Okay. Well said.
Yeah.
Said.
Actually, this is actually why I struggled some with the New 52, is because the characters I've been reading for so long, the dynamics changed. And like these characters in particular, as you say, I so enjoyed what Gail did, and she set the characters, so well. And then here comes the new 52, and it's all different. And I'm like, eh. All that said, Jess, thank you for recommending that book because I love Connor and Palmiotti, and I've not read that one, and so I will order it.
Oh,
It's
I
very
think
good.
you'll dig it. I think you'll dig it. It's Black Label and full of everything that they like: violence, swear words, everything.
I'm in.
Chris,
It's
can you?
also
No, go ahead, Ødfel.
sorry, I was gonna say it's also the same continuity as the one that Peter and Chris chose. So if you like that team, it's a spinoff of that one directly. So if you want more of that dynamic, you can read that.
Chris, can we sway you over to Team Ødfel, Omar, Lars, and BJ?
Absolutely. I chose Rebirth in the sense of kind of like what we were saying earlier, in the sense of like a jumping on point, but I can't argue with Gail Simone. Like, just period. It's
Okay.
There's no contest.
BJ had to dip out, but he said he loves all my choices and wishes that all 3 of my choices had been in the Evergreen list, I think is what he wrote.
Sounds like him.
And it sounds like something he would say. He's such a nice guy. But he wants to wish everybody some love. His channel's comics are dope. He's got a baby, so he's got to go take care of the baby. Respect. Now, Jess.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Can we lure you into voting for Birds of Prey and that's it? Murder and Mystery.
Yeah. Because I gotta go.
Okay.
I have 8:30 Omni Bros, real manga, fake manga. I just wanted to get Harley Quinn on the list. Murder and Mystery is a phenomenal book.
Thank you so much for being here, Jess, and thank you to BJ if you're still watching with the baby. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and let me do this really quick.
Peace and
then-
love. Thank you very much.
Love you, buddy. Take care and have fun.
Thank you. It's
Omni
great to see you.
Bros.
Peter, I
Bros.
have words for you. I'll talk to you later.
He does have words for you. And
Leave with
then
one
there
eye
were
open, Peter.
5. Then there were 5 of us. Love it.
So much
It's so
room
hard.
now to spread out.
Now we can see Lars True HD upgrade.
It's so hard
It's
to pick
true,
all these
that-
ones. They're my babies.
It may not be an improvement if you can see more of me. You know, much like when they upgraded, you know, classic Star Trek, and you could see the join on Spock's ears. You know, might not help.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our Birds of Prey Evergreen pick is Birds of Prey by Gail Simone and Ed Bennis, Murder and Mystery, the very first book, which is currently in print. So
Hey, look at that.
that
Huzzah.
is the book that we chose, and man, this is such a blast. I love doing these. And then our Evergreen list, in case you missed it. There we go. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys want to talk about next time. I'd love to do our picks for an omnibus Evergreen,
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Marvel and DC, or deluxe editions or absolute editions. Peter, what about you? I know you got some things cooking up in that head of yours.
I would love to see us face off on some big characters to maybe make a top 3 evergreens for characters. I think
Top
it would be
3
hot
for
to,
characters? Oh gosh, okay.
I think it would be hot to argue over Aquaman. I think it would be fun to argue over Spider-Man. I think there's a lot of. I think it would be fun to argue a top 3 for Wonder Woman now that we have Perez as our anchor. I think there could be a lot of fun there. Somebody in the comments said we should do a tier maker version of that, where we fight to put all of them in order. That would be fun. I'm pro anything that lets me argue and be an agent of chaos, because I think actually hearing people argue the pros and cons of the books really boldly helps people figure out what books they're going to love. And I think that you have sold me so many books in the past that way. And that's why I think Lars sold me that JSA book, which I didn't even think I cared about tonight. So
That's so
I think that's why I like this format.
I'm a big fan of listening to everybody else's thoughts, because we all come in from different times about like getting into comic books, right? Damn it, Jess isn't here, so I can make fun of him. Just not the same. But I love separating myself from my favorite run to something that would logically make sense as a seller, right? Which is why the Evergreen list is so difficult sometimes, because it's not about my favorites. It's about what I think is more accessible to new readers and what would more than likely sell out there.
Well, and I think now that he's gone, I'll say something nice about him. Omni Dog, his challenge on this show format is he picks full heart. He picks these picks 100% with the things that make him just like vibrate with joy. And then to the rest of us, we're like, I don't know if that's like the one, but like that really is. If we weren't being strategic and trying to stab each other in the back, we actually would all be picking like Jess. So
Yeah,
I tease him mercilessly, but the man has fantastic taste in comic books. Nobody
No,
told me said that.
no, it's true, and I'm sure Marvel and DC have these discussions a lot, where I'm sure there's certain things that their employees like very passionately, and then they have to recognize, well, that wouldn't sell, or whatever it is, whatever the problem is.
I think they have gone through that in the past with what makes it as the Marvel Premiere hardcover, or I'm sorry, the Marvel Select hardcover, and then what made it into the top 12 Evergreen list. And I think they're going to do another one, is what David told me. I don't know if DC will ever do that. Maybe one day, they'll actually release, these are the books we're going to always keep in print. But I would love to know what everybody else, whether you're joining us now or in the comment section later on, would love to see us talk about. Somebody wants to see us argue over X-Men and or Wolverine.
I'll always argue over X-Men. I would love to do a tier list because I feel like there's more chaos in a tier list.
It's gonna break a lot of hearts.
It's been a 4-hour show.
Arguing.
Certain properties, like even X-Men, you might start to run a bit how many beyond 10 absolute A-level, grade A, gold standard picks can there be? And that could be
X-Men.
Oh, an X-Men? Oh my God, there's like 100. Peter, am I right?
More than there are good DC comics.
But I feel like it's easy to argue why something should always be in print. I feel like it's really fun to argue which ones are S tier. Which ones are passable, which ones are like, because they can't all be S tier, even if we want them to be.
So yeah, let us know what you all want to see. There's some really good decisions. Evergreen Vertigo, Edwin. Oh, now we're talking. Which the rumor is that Vertigo is coming back. Peter with the best comment. Superman Evergreen or tier list.
And I will say this, that what we saw with James Gunn putting out like what the first tier of Gods and Monsters is going to be, and then saying the books that they're looking to kind of inspire them for. Every one of those went basically sold out of print runs so quickly, all the trades, and they came back. So I think they may not call it Evergreen, but if James Gunn, being the head of DC Studios, saying like, yeah, this is a book I'm going to go for, it sells out.
Yeah, well, with Bodies, going from being a Vertigo book that, a lot of people had never heard of to a hit Netflix show, if I were Warner Brothers, I'd be thinking Vertigo might still serve a purpose as, generating a lot of intellectual property we can use.
James Gunn did say just on Threads now, when someone asked him, someone asked him specifically about Transmetropolitan, if that's being considered for that, and he said we're looking at Vertigo. We do have Vertigo titles that will be going to be in the pipeline for.
Oh, there you go.
For media. So
we need an Austin versus Wade debate. My Omar loves both. I do not like at all. And I am curious, because we all love and hate different things, like what my co-host would hate and love, just to break my heart when it comes to X-Men. Like, I'm really curious down inside how much Peter really agrees with me and how much he hates like the Australian Outback era, or or if he loves Peter Milligan's era of X-Men, which is atrocious.
There's one we can agree
on. Yeah.
We'll fight to the death on Inferno. It's okay.
The most hated X-Men runs episode. This is a positive, honest community.
We might have to get one of either Zach or Adam from Battle of the Atom if we were to do that. So this is a wonderful podcast. Battle of the Atom that ranks every X-Men story. That's the whole thing we do.
The news is already horrifying. I'm not sure we need to pile on that with the grim nihilism of fight over the things you hate.
Yeah, it's more fun to argue with my friends about the things they love and why they're wrong.
Agreed. Because for me, it would just be a laundry list of things I shouldn't read if it was hate.
Yeah.
Because
I agree with that.
I mean, again, I would say what we hate and end up seeing like some even though I joked with one of the chatters saying like I'd rather read
Batman Year 2.
Yeah, Batman Year 2 over what was it? New Frontier, because the artist had it's fair. It's a subjective take, breaks my heart, but I gotta respect it.
Yeah.
Do you really have to respect it though? It is Warren that said that.
I have respect for him saying it.
Overrated books, episodes are the ones you just don't get. I mean, again, it's all subjective, right? It
Well,
would be like,
yeah, or you could do underrated. I mean, you know, we've had Doctor Who panels where it's like, come in and defend a story that on the whole nobody loves, but explain why you love it. And that's actually gone pretty well.
I kind of like
I like that. I mean, you know, let's get everybody's Hawkman in there. I want to hear.
No, see,
I
then
wanna hear-
Hawkman, yeah, then Hawkman would, would make sense.
Lars, you'll be so proud of me. I watched all 3 of the new Doctor Who specials with the only person other than you that I know who knows as much as you about Doctor Who as my personal footnotes to every time I had to pause and ask a question.
Okay. Forgive me. How much of a Whovian are you? Have you seen
0? I've literally seen 2 minutes of Doctor Who before these.
What? That's it? Oh my gosh, it's so
This was
brilliant.
your entry point. This was your entry point.
I literally watched my first full episodes of Who.
Quickly,
What did you
was
think,
that
Peter?
like?
And I thought of you fondly.
Oh, fondly. I'm shocked. No, what did you? How was that for you? Never having seen it before.
I think I was expecting it to have more deep lore and like arc stuff. Like I was thinking it was going to be more like an arc episode of X-Files, and it turned out to be more like a Monster of the Week episode of X-Files, or like Star Trek. And I think that was a big brain shift for me because I thought it was this big like continuity show, and it actually is more of like a campy show. And so that was just like a mindfuck for me. Like I had no idea. So that was,
it's
fun
so
to experience
campy.
that.
That's the beauty of Doctor Who. It's so
Mhm.
campy.
I didn't know. But
You've been missing out on so much. Like Peter, you gotta get to watching. You gotta get to watching.
If you
Well,
choose
now
to
I'm
go
in now.
back, yeah, if you choose to go back, start with 9.
Would you voluntarily watch more of it?
Yes, yeah, I'm going to watch
Okay.
the new series.
Okay, all right.
If they would put all of it on Disney Plus here, I would watch it. But anyway, enough about New Zealand and Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The most fun X-Men reads don't have to be masterpieces, but most fun to read. That would be fun. Ninth Doctor, vastly underrated. Look at Odell going. Is that your favorite Doctor, Odell?
I was my
Christopher
first Doctor.
Oh,
Like I have a hard time picking between 9 and 10 because I'm like 10 was amazing, incredible, phenomenal. But like 9 is the first Doctor Who I watched, and I love him. And he's very underrated, and everyone kind of craps on him. But he's got really good story arcs, and Bad Wolf was just amazing.
oh yeah. What about you, Chris? Are you a Whovian, or are you just a casual watcher?
No, it was one of my blind spots, and this year I started watching Who, so I've gotten through Ninth Doctor, and I'm just probably a couple of episodes into the 10th Doctor, and what I've enjoyed about it is just knowing how far back it was at that point, to saying, man, I could see why people like wouldn't like it, but I enjoy the kind of the campy kind of where they were in the sense of the CG and the practicality of it. I was like, yeah, I like counter history. I like the idea, and I'm with you. Like I hear the hate of Eccleston, but I think it was about halfway point through I really started seeing, oh, there's a lot more depth to him with this, and what we finally discovered. You know, that's the first Who I've ever watched, so I don't have any connection to what came prior to that. So, you know, so I'm still a newbie when it comes to Who, but I did pick up. I went deep dive, found a good deal on the series, so I'm in for life. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In for life. Awesome. I love to hear that. This is a really good one. The best character defining runs. That would be a really fun one to do.
Ooh.
What defines these characters? I know nothing of Doctor Who other than police call boxes and screwdrivers.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
That's about it. Yeah.
I will never watch Doctor Who. I don't get it. I will say that if you ever want to try Doctor Who, the best place to start if you read comics is Dan Slott's Silver Surfer run. It's practically a Doctor Who story. It is the most Doctor Who comic I've read outside of his.
Shoot, now I'm gonna read that again just with that in mind because I love that. But thinking about it, I think, damn, you're right.
Yeah, I think that's the way I sell it to a lot of people that normally don't read comics. It's the most Doctor Who comic I've read.
Yeah, it's true.
What about legacy characters better than original, like Wally West and John Stewart? Ooh, legacy characters.
I do. We can talk more about it. I do think we should maybe consider an evergreen on evergreen or some sort of contest on comics that have a bad reputation, but we think are quite good.
Like guilty pleasures.
Yes.
Batman Year Two.
Because when we did this for Doctor Who, again, the Web Planet does not have a good reputation. And yet somebody got up on that panel and did almost this rhapsody of why the Web Planet is awesome. And I was sitting there actually kind of captivated, going, oh my God, maybe they're right. Maybe it is, maybe it is unexpectedly awesome. I'll have to rethink about this. So that could be quite fun.
And I also think that there's a cyclical aspect that too. In the chat earlier, we were talking about the William Messner Loeb's run of Wonder Woman that directly follows Perez. I worship that run. I love it. There were years that if you brought it up, people would be like, Artemis, wasn't that early Diodato? Like, people would just find any reason to step on it. And now it feels like finally, I don't know, people got older and the fans now have say, or people went back and revisited it. But it's like, I've been stumping for that run since it ended in the mid-90s. And it feels like now finally it's in the conversation. So sometimes you got to have a conversation about that stuff and try to ask like, well, why is this not well liked? And if we ever did that, I will come and make a good case for Chuck Austin's X-Men. I promise I will, because I think it's fun to look at why stories are not well liked.
Yeah. And also, like, again, with Doctor Who, as with a lot of fandoms, some story is always somebody's favorite.
Yeah.
No matter how much it's dumped on, some story is someone's favorite.
There's a lot of good ideas. Best eras of a topic like DC. I think most of us will probably go with best eras as whatever got us into comics, right? I don't know. Nostalgia, kid, when you were a kid. Right?
I started reading DC during New 52, so I have a complex.
Okay.
I don't know if I can defend New 52.
Well, it doesn't have to be when you got into comics, but maybe we're still live, BJ. or maybe what you think is the best era, right? I think that would be a really interesting topic. And another one is, I think, most wanted never before collected list video would be very good.
Yeah.
I do mine every year, and it would be fun to talk to you all about it.
Yeah,
it's getting smaller and smaller.
It is, well, especially for Marvel, right? And DC's coming out with some bangers too.
Yeah.
And
I read the first issue of that Outsiders run. The
Judd Winnick. Oh, yeah, the new one,
the newest one. Yeah, the new number one with Batgirl and Luke Fox. That last page, I'm at least hooked just by what they put in at that last page. I was not expecting what they're about to do. So there's a plug.
Now I got to read it. Damn.
Yeah.
Who's the creative team on The Outsiders? The new one.
Kelly Lansing, right?
Yes.
Oh, those guys are great.
Love them.
Yeah, same. They did a lot of Star Trek comics. Peter, I don't know if
here we go. It is Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing.
Yeah, those guys are great. Killed it on Captain America. I love their stuff. What was it that they were calling? Like, they did the Beyond story. Solid. All right. I think that is our list. Again, this is a quick look at our list, and then our Birds of Prey trade came. It's the Gail Simone and Ed Benes one. Now let's go around and sign off, everybody. I just want to thank you all for joining me. Check out cheapgraphicnovels.com. And check out, if you live in Europe, waltzcomicshop.com. Tell them Near Me Conditions sent you their way for a discount on your next order. Norwegian Assassin, kick us out. Get us out of here.
Again, Lars Pearson, formerly a Wizard, currently of Mad Norwegian Press, and we do a lot of books on Doctor Who. I co-write A History, which is the definitive timeline of Doctor Who. I co-write with Lance Parkin. It is 1.1 million words and folds in almost 2,500 Doctor Who stories into a single timeline.
Wow.
I know. It's a lot.
That's a lot. That's so much. Love it. Crisis, my buddy. Where are you? What are you doing these days?
I'm Crisis with a K. Everywhere you might want to find somebody enthusing about comic books. I come here because I love my good friend Omar, everybody on the panel, yes, including Lars, and especially the Minties in the comics. I'm at
It is
Crushing
difficult, I know.
Crisis. I'm at crushingcrisis.com, where I have reading guides to just about everything we talked about on this show and almost every other show. And I'm always happy to be here talking comics.
Yeah, look at that. Oddfell looks like a redhead Gwen.
I think it's the headband.
But you know what happened to her? She died.
Whoa, spoilers, Lars. What are you doing,
Jeez.
buddy?
I was sure you were gonna have Power Girl because you're kind of giving a little bit of Power Girl with the.
It's the Christmas Power Girl.
I love it. Odell, where are you? Where are you hanging out?
Yes, hello. I am Oddfell. I'm a cosplayer. I'm over on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter with cosplay content. I've got all kinds of toy and statue unboxing, comic talk stuff regarding all kinds of pop culture over on YouTube. And I think that about. Oh, and I'm on TikTok as well. So depending on what you like, I've got a little bit of everything. So, yeah.
Awesome. And it was great joining you all tonight. Nice to meet you. And that's from our buddy BJ, who joined us at Comics Are Dope. That is his YouTube
It was great
channel.
meeting you. Great getting to chat.
And last but not least, Chris, where do you hang out?
Yes, you can find me on pretty much all the socials at Chris Balga. Got 2 shows, 2 podcasts, World's Finest True Believers. You can follow that at Finest Believers. And then co-host of Marvel Alliance, which is going live at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. You can find that in the link I'm just posting down there. That's the direct link to the show link. But all our shows, all our live shows are on the Geekverse podcast YouTube channel. All our podcasts are found on Geek Ultimate Alliance.
Love it. Thank you guys. You all make this so much more fun than to do this by myself. I love talking to you all, and I love just having this outlet where people just chime in with their thoughts and opinions too. And thank you, wonderful people that watched tonight. Smash that like button on the way out. And yeah, if you have more ideas, let us know. I'd love to hang out with these people again. So for now, that's it. Stay healthy and safe, everybody. Until the next Evergreen list. It's probably Marvel Omnis. That'd be fun. I like arguing over that. It's all X-Men, baby.